I'm an immigrant from Haiti. In fourth grade, when they asked the kids, what do you want to be in school? I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to be a football player. I said I want to be a millionaire. And that was it. That was in fourth grade. I grew up in poverty, man. So I wanted to know what was the other side like.
So with you being in the funding space, and you said you have a program, Immigrants to
Millionaires. I was able to take $6,000 off this Discover credit card, buy some inventory from Walmart, and then I was able to make $14,000 in 2 weeks with my fiance, leveraging other people's money. The number one thing I tell people is OPM, right? It's the 3 O's. You have other people's money, then you have OPA, which is other people's audiences. The other one is OPP, which is as long as you master this, you can make all the money in the world.
Hey guys, we realize a lot of you are coming to the page and enjoying the content, but we see a lot of you still aren't subscribed. And so if you could click that subscribe button, it'll help our channel grow and give you more episodes with a lot of amazing individuals. Yo, welcome back to another episode of Attractive Mindset. Listen, today's guest, all the way from Massachusetts, Miss Man, charismatic, came into the building, felt the energy immediately, got a good story, good heart, good people, good vibes around them. Listen, we're going to get into it today. We're introducing you to my guy, Carrington. Welcome to the show, man.
What's good, bro? Thank you for having me, Rich. I appreciate you, bro.
Yes, sir.
This is a beautiful studio, bro. I can't say nothing, but this is fire, man. This is inspirational.
Thank you.
Like I said, seeing a man that looks just like me to be able to have amassed something like this is it's inspirational, but for real.
Thank you.
Crazy.
Thank you. So
thank you for having me.
For the people that don't know you,
yep.
You know, and I also am meeting you for one of the first times.
Yeah.
One thing I pride myself on is I don't do any research. So I don't go look at people's Instagrams.
I like that.
Ask stories about them because I want us to have an authentic conversation.
I like that.
I want us to vibe.
Okay.
And so tell us, you know, a little bit about you.
Okay. So my name is Carrington Pierre. You guys can see me on Instagram as C Stays in Profit. A little bit about me, man, is I'm an immigrant from Haiti. So I came from Haiti with my mom and my brother in 2001 initially. Ironically, we in Florida, right? So the last time I was in Florida was when I immigrated to America. So we came here in 2002. My mom was like 19, 20 at the time, right? So she couldn't really afford to have us. We were only here for a couple months. And so she had to send us back home, me and my little brother and I, to go back with my grandma. Because in America, we were struggling because, you know, we were guests in people's houses, friends and family. I had an aunt out here. I had 2 aunts out here. And it's just back then it was 2001, bro. It was 2002. So it was a lot. So my mom sent us back. And so we lived with my grandma for a little bit. And then what happened was while we were in Haiti, I had to go back to private school. Mind you, in America, we were going to struggle, you know, sharing a small little room. But back in Haiti, my grandma had maids, butlers.
Oh, damn.
And yeah, my grandma already had businesses and stuff.
And see, that's the part that people don't talk about because, you know, when we think about Haiti or unfortunately, these other countries, we think like disasters and stuff. And
that's part of it.
Rundown communities and everything. But the Black wealth that is accessible to us is expansive, like maids.
Yeah, maids, butlers. So my grandma was, as a child, my grandmother was the first entrepreneur that I saw. Right. That's what I grew up around. My mom.
What'd she do?
So my grandmother, so it's kind of crazy, right? My grandma had a business in Haiti where we live in Port-au-Prince and it was a place called Delma 33. So the people that know Delma 33, right? It's, she had a firework and these little things that like as a little kid, you would like light them up with a match and you would like run around with them, but it would like sparkle everywhere.
So like sparklers.
Yeah. But so she had fireworks, sparklers. She had all these different things. But my grandma also had a job back then. She worked in a salt factory. Yeah, my grandma had a salt factory. So she worked at a salt factory. And so she would do that, reinvest into that business. She also had candy. She had different snacks.
She was hustling.
And yeah, my grandma's a straight hustler. And in the good way, like, you know, because back then it wasn't like that. You can't be out here hustling like some people might do in Miami. Because back then, you know, in Haiti, it's your relationships and who you know matter, right? Because remember, in America, we have credit, right? But in Haiti, we don't got none of that stuff. The only credit we know is
Face
I know
card.
your mom, I know your dad. You don't pay me, I know who to go to, you know? But my grandma was wholeheartedly the first entrepreneur I've ever met.
Wow.
Wholeheartedly. Yeah.
Got you. And so you said your mom picked that up from her?
So my mom she was an entrepreneur. My mom went the school route and my mom had gotten her degree. She was very intelligent.
What'd she study?
So she actually went to go become a nurse.
Got it.
So in Haiti, right, school moves a little bit faster. So you got to understand as a kid, I know Haitian Creole, but also you were taught French. So now where I'm from, right, when I came to America, going through school was easy for me because In Haiti, if you, let's say, didn't come to school and you couldn't recite, let's say the chapter or the section in French that they taught you, you get marks like this. Like you get hit with a ruler. So now you got to imagine you get in trouble. What you going to do? You're going to go run to your mom? You can't. The teacher's going to tell you he didn't do his homework, and your parents going to be like, yo. Now my mom and my grandma did not like that. They didn't. But it also taught me what? There's punishments for when you don't take education serious. See what I mean? So I took that with me to America. So when kids weren't doing their homeworks and stuff like that, oh no, I was already on it. Yeah. Crazy.
You're like, yo, y'all tripping.
Oh, y'all tripping. And then the teachers would be like, yo, man, why you do your homework so fast? I'm like, well, where I'm from, if I don't do, you get in trouble. You get hit. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, you get hit with a ruler in front of the whole class. They're like, my teacher at the time was like, yo, you do something like that, yo, you go to jail. I'm like, yeah, no, in my country, no, that's normal.
Damn.
Hey, what's up, guys? So if you guys want to go and learn how to increase your credit score by 100 points, learn how to access $100,000 in funding from the banks, and how to make $10,000 a month while leaving your 9 to 5, I want you guys to tune in to our free class this week, where we're going to teach you guys everything from point A to point B. You're going to leave there a hero. You came in 0, we're going to get you right. Make sure you tap in with us, guys. It's a free class this week.
Yeah. No, that's dope. Okay. And so now, what age was it that you came over here?
So
back over here?
Initially, I was 4. My brother was around 2.5 to 3.
Okay.
So we came in 2002. My mom couldn't afford to have us. She sent us back. We came back a year later. Then my mom got a little bit reestablished. So my dad had petitioned for us to come here. But similar to a lot of Haitians.
Your dad is Haitian?
Yes, my dad's Haitian. So similar to a lot of Haitian backgrounds, when we came to America, you think that your parents are going to be married in the same household. It wasn't that. Now, I love my dad. We good now. But initially, I remember my first memory of seeing my dad. It was my dad coming out the car with with my half brother, half sisters, mom, and me and my mom and my brother like, whoa, what is this? That's kind of how we seen this. So from that moment, they never lived in a household together. It went kind of straight from there to court.
Wow.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
That's one way to introduce you to the family.
Yeah.
Damn,
it's cool.
Okay.
But yeah, we good now. It's my dad's, my brothers. I love them.
Okay. So now, getting a little older, or what state were you in again?
So we started in Florida. We were only here for a couple months, went back to Haiti.
Okay.
When we came back when I was 5, I finished school, which kind of accelerated me in school in America, because I did kindergarten down there. But back then I had braids. Now people see me bald, right? I'm 27 years old now. And so I had braids out of this all stuff. But in Haiti, in private school, boys can't have hair. So they shaved off our hair. Now you can't. You can't have, no, hell no.
Uh-oh.
Nah. Yeah. How do you know the It's crazy.
I was raised by a Haitian lady.
Yeah. So Uba as a petit garçon, as a little boy, you can't have no hair. Hell no. So they shaved my hair. I cried like a baby, but I was also tender-headed. But I had the Travis Scott braids before Travis Scott ever had them. Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. I went to private school. I in Haiti, you had to not only go to school, do all the different educations, learn French, but you also had to do ballroom dancing, ballet. I did ballet for years.
Oh, damn.
It worked out for me in football because I was very flexible.
Yeah.
But
that I like that you said that, because flexibility is like, bro, I wish that I took stretching and all of that kind of stuff serious, because the way my body locked up now,
nah, it's not the same.
I mean, I'm in unk mode. I'm in my 30s, and so
I'm
gonna be on the dance floor trying to get it, and I'll be like, oh,
nah,
gotta slow down. But you're still young, 27. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, what state did you go to high school in?
So Massachusetts. So after we came back, when we immigrated, when I was 5, we went straight to Massachusetts.
Got it.
You know what I mean? And so we started in Boston, and then from Boston, we only there for a couple months. Again, the host family situation, we ended up getting kicked out, living on the streets for a little bit in the winter.
Damn.
Then from there, we went to the shelter, and then a family friend helped us get to Brockton, Massachusetts. So I lived in Brockton for over 20 plus years.
What kind of neighborhood is Brockton?
Oh, so Brockton is one of the most diverse places you will probably see in Massachusetts, where you have, for example, my fiance is Cape Verdean, right? When I tell people that, they don't know what a Cape Verdean is, right? I'm Haitian. So there's Cape Verdeans, Dominicans, Portuguese. There's obviously Caucasian people, white people. It's diverse as hell. But Brockton, the best way I could describe it is you got the north side, west side, east side, south side. So every side has its own demographics, and it also has its own living conditions. So growing up in Brockton for over 20 years, I've lived in all aspects of life. So I've lived on the south side of Brockton, right? I've lived on, so people used to say the west side is the best side. And the west side, if you notice, they have the best schools. They also have access to the highway. They also have access to the west side has the most expensive homes in the city of Brockton. Second to the west side is the east side of the Brockton. And then from there's the north. So I started out in south side of Brockton. We moved from the south side to the kind of like the north side, west side area. And then from there, we went to the west side. And then we ended up buying my first property at 19 on the east side of Brockton.
Gotcha.
With my mom, yeah.
And so in high school, were you more academic focused, or did you have like the friend group, class clown, sports, jock?
So that's good. So for me, it's kind of like I didn't fit in a specific group, because you got to remember, like, for me, I'm Haitian. Education's already my background. My freshman year, I went to a school with over 4,250 kids.
Damn.
Yeah. My graduating class was over 1,200 kids.
Oh, that's
our graduation was like 4, 5, 6 hours, bro. It's crazy.
Wow.
And so you got to imagine, so my freshman year, all the girls, that's when I started having like a little bit of bad grades. I had to tighten up my freshman year because, so many females, girls, so many people in one school. It's kind of crazy. But by my second semester of freshman year, I tightened up, and I graduated, very like with 3.26 GPA, got accepted into the biggest schools. But my high school, I was a mixture of, I was academic focused because, right, I'm book smart, I'm knowledgeable. But at the same time, I also played junior varsity football and varsity football. So I hung out with the jocks, but I also got the girls. I also did the academics. So I had all that stuff. But for me, I wasn't a nerd, but I was also I knew about anime. I knew into the Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I used to sell Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Now you talking my language. Because I'm the biggest anime enthusiast I know.
For real? What you like?
Everything.
Let's see how far you want to go back.
How far you want to go? How
What's your top
you
3?
Go?
Top 3
of all time or right now?
I'll say all time.
Yu Yu Hakusho.
I'm not surprised you said that.
Would you count Space Ghost Coast to Coast?
You can count Space Ghost. Of course you can. Yeah, 100%.
And all time, I don't know. I'm dabbling on old ones right now.
I'm thinking right now too.
The new ones got some bangers.
They do. You could throw in a new one if you want. You can throw in a new one. I want to see what you're thinking about the next generation. Let's see.
There's 3 major ones right now.
What's your 3 major? Okay, add one and then to the old list, and then give me the 3. JJK, Juju. What?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Kaisen.
Jujutsu Kaisen?
Yeah.
Stop it.
You don't like it?
Are you crazy? I love Jujutsu Kaisen.
Okay.
Stop it.
So
you
yeah,
crazy?
JJK.
Gojo?
Kaiju.
Okay.
And the beginning after the end.
I've never seen that. Never seen. What's it about?
So
even your engineers going crazy. What is it about?
So it was basically this guy. It's like one of those where he gets reborn into a new life, whatever. Yeah. But pretty much he's like an evil king in his prior life. Mad power, bodying everybody though.
What?
And then he's reincarnated into this baby with this loving family, but he never grew up that way before. And so he has all his
evil as hell.
And then he's like, damn, I kind of like this, like I never grew up with a nice family. And so they're teaching him like all the good shit and everything. And he basically like starts to grow into this good person. And he gets separated from the family. A dragon kind of protects him and it gives her his seal. And then he meets this like forest elf and shit. But
what the hell?
It's still developing, but like, bro, I'm talking.
Does it got 100 episodes?
No.
Nah, I wouldn't watch it then.
It's literally just
my anime minimum.
Just came out.
Nah, my anime minimum for me to start anime gotta be 100 episodes.
Really? Nah.
I'm a binger.
Gotcha.
So I don't like cliffhangers in anything. Gotcha. I don't like cliffhangers in any show. I don't like them because it's like, yo, bro, you're about to leave me on a crazy cliff.
So how you feel about Solo Leveling?
Here's my thing with Solo Leveling, and I have to actually get further into that because I had to leave it alone. Right? Everyone's telling me, yo, Solo Leveling. I'm like, bro, how many episodes? When it first came out, like, bro, probably like 15. I'm like, nah, stop it.
Bro.
I'm behind on that.
That's my number 1 right now.
Really?
Yeah.
So my top 3, if I gotta go OGs, bro, I'm gonna give Dragon Ball Z, I gotta put on the list.
Okay.
I learned English with my brother watching Dragon Ball Z when it was dubbed.
We always gotta pay homage to Dragon Ball Z.
You have to, because remember, I learned English off of it.
Yeah.
So when we came to America, my brother and I had no friends. So my mom, probably, I didn't know how hard my mom was working until we grew older, right? My mom was busting her ass making $7 an hour. Back then, she bought us a PlayStation 2. Out of Haiti, we had no friends. My mom had a TV for us. She bought us a PlayStation 2. And so we had DBZ, but back then it was Dragon Ball Z Budokai. Yeah, so I was learning English off that plus the TV shows. So DBZ's on my list. Naruto's life-changing, bro. I'm not gonna hold you. I can go further back if you want.
Naruto.
Crazy, you're bugging.
Because that shit was too long. And so I stopped right when...
I only got like...
right when they killed Pain.
Nah, you got like 500 episodes away. You crazy.
Yeah, I stopped right when they killed Pain.
Now the world shall know Pain. You crazy.
Yeah, nah, I couldn't do it.
Nah, Naruto, I love Naruto. The background story, the energy, the light. What? Yeah. Naruto? People be talking about the struggle. I'm like, you see that dude? He was drinking rotten milk.
Yeah.
So I got to put DBZ, Naruto, and then I'm trying to see if I want to go another top 3. Or do I want to go back? I'll go a random one. You might not even know it. Jorgamon.
I do know Jorgamon. That's with the
little boy.
Yeah.
With the assassins. Yeah, Jorgamon. But if I didn't do that one, he knows I'm tapped in. If not Jorgamon, you could also do I love One Piece. I love
So
One Piece.
I'm on One Piece right now. I feel like this new season is starting off slow. Super slow.
I'm not gonna be by you. I'm probably like 400 episodes away from you.
Oh, okay. So
I told you, I really think about
binge.
it. I watched 150 episodes of One Piece in like 4 days. Bro, I work for myself. For me, I've automated my business so much that when I haven't watched anime in probably 2 years though. Because I've had to give it a break. So I watch anime, I got real life TV shows too. Yeah, bro.
What real life TV shows do you watch?
Okay. Dude, you gotta remember, bro. Let me tell you why. My grandma and I got that from my grandmother. In Haiti, you got to remember, like growing up as a kid, like you got to catch the shows at the right time. Because if you got a thunderstorm or a blackout, you're gone.
Yeah.
You ain't watching nothing. So you got to stop the TVs and stuff. And so now my grandma and I, we would sit up till 1, 2 in the morning as children. I was 5 years old. I was on my grandma's routine. So before I started going back to preschool or kindergarten, or not kindergarten, but it was, I think it was preschool, right? Because I went from there. Preschool, kindergarten, yeah. So from there, with my grandma, I would wake up on her time. I would listen to the old music she would listen to. And then from there, she'd have coffee and bread. I'm having coffee and bread with my grandma. You see what I'm saying? So we would watch all these TV shows. So it grew up into me. So for me, I'm a homebody more than anything.
Gotcha.
Right? So TV, movies, I love that type of stuff. So every Tuesday, my fiance and I, we always go on movie dates.
Yeah.
Every Tuesday.
I got a Regal Unlimited subscription.
We don't have Regals where we're at all. I don't like Regals is not normal. It's AMC and we found a little
They got
spot.
AMC subscriptions?
Of course. I had an AMC subscription for years. They were doing it was 12 movies a month, 3 per week. Now it's more than that now, but we found a little gem where we live now. I ain't even gonna disclose it to y'all when we be going. The room's empty, 60 seats, just me and her chilling.
Wow.
And so, but for me, TV shows, bro, I could go top 3 TV shows I love, bro. Top 3, Breaking Bad, 100%.
Love Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad is crazy.
Walt's a different breed.
It depends if I want to go action, funny. I love Seinfeld. Love Seinfeld.
Never seen it.
Seinfeld's funny as hell, bro. Seinfeld is funny. I got so many I can give you. I got action, drama.
Let's do action.
Action. Damn. Action. Well, Breaking Bad's action. That counts. You got Breaking Bad. There was, man, what's the 2 brothers? I know which one you're trying to tell me because the brothers, Animal House. Animal House with the brothers and the mom that ran a criminal organization, robbing and stealing.
I never saw
what?
That. When did
Kingdom? No, it's Animal Kingdom. Animal Kingdom. Thank you so much, babe. Animal Kingdom. I love that one.
Animal Kingdom.
What's the other one? Oh, how you remember that? I forget it. Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, I saw like Anarchy.
2 episodes
of that.
What?
Yeah.
Sons of Anarchy is crazy, bro. Stop playing
I just watched Game of Thrones like last year.
Bro, Game of Thrones, I gotta finish it. Game of Thrones, I get it. I love Game of Thrones. It's cool. But Sons of Anarchy had me on a chokehold. Breaking Bad had me on a chokehold. Then you got, if you want to go to like kind of like funny, witty criminal ones, White Collar. You got 24. There's some that got canceled. I used to love Hannibal. I can go for days, bro.
Vikings. I really like Vikings.
I started Vikings on Netflix. Yeah. And then there's the, what's the other one I like? Badlands. Badlands is crazy.
I didn't see Badlands. I heard about it. Walking Dead had me in a chokehold.
I had Walking Dead on chokehold.
Walking Dead and the Fear of the Walking Dead.
Yeah, I never saw that one. After Negan clapped the whole cast, I was like, all right, I'm good, bro. I'm like, y'all doing too much now. I used to, one that people be sleeping on, Grey's Anatomy, bro.
Grey's Anatomy, never
what?
watched it.
Meredith? Stop it.
Never
Meredith?
watched it.
Stop it. You used to piss me off.
I'm catching up on that part of life because I've always been a homebody too. But I've been a different kind of homebody because it's weird. My childhood was more so like I was outside because I was forced to be outside.
Yeah.
So I was doing bad shit. But my stepfather was like a counterintelligence for the bank systems.
Oh, damn.
And so, you know, he built PCs and he was the one who like basically would have to do counter hacking to fight the hackers.
Seriously?
Yeah. And so that was his vibe. My dad is Jamaican Trinidadian. And so on his side of the family, brothers and sisters, everybody fighting and shit and doing yard man thing and all that. You know what I mean? But
Roadman.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And then my mom, she was like the pacifist, super religious, R&B, all of that stuff. And so it put me in like a weird spot as a child because I was taking a little bit from all of them.
Yeah.
And she wanted me to detach from being inside so much. He wanted me to be inside more.
Because he's more of a homebody computer type guy.
And my dad, you go outside, go play and go to the park and go do bad shit and whatever. And so I lived with my mom though. And so I was always around him.
Yeah.
And so he built me my first computer and like this man was blowing my mind because I would like go pretend to go to sleep, wake up and then be on a PC and then like a notification will pop up on the screen that said like go to sleep. And
he was that saucy.
Bro. And I didn't even realize it was him at first because I thought it was a pop-up. So I just X'd it out. And then he like locked my whole screen and said, go to sleep now. And I'm like, yo,
he's that
he can
saucy.
see my screen. And so we didn't really have that much money. You know, she was more so like, you know, you can get whatever we give type shit. And
similar to me.
And so my whole thing for him, he was like, look, if you do these type of chores or if you go out and work and do these type of things, I will get you to the next level. And I'm like, what does that even mean? He says, and so he is honestly how business really started entering my mind. Because he worked a 9-to-5, but the way he set me up was he said, look, go earn some money and I'll help you triple it. And I'm like, what does that even mean? And so I earned the money and he's like, what game do you want? What game system do you want? So I said, okay, cool. I want PlayStation.
Okay.
And so we get the first PlayStation ever and this man cracks the lid off of it. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? And he's like, no. He's like,
trust system just to break it.
He's like, trust me. And so he starts opening it and breaking it down, breaking it apart and everything. And that's when I first learned about mod chips.
What?
And so
what did he do to it with the mod chip?
So it took 8 hours and 27 minutes. I remember because he made me sit there the whole time. 8 hours, 27 minutes. And he puts a mod chip in there. So what a mod chip does is it basically replaces the normal reader to read burned discs. And so when you have a regular game, they have a special type of burned disc, which makes it a 1-on-1 copy. But when you replace the mod chip reader with the actual chip, any burned disc can be read.
Because now he can just go buy a blank CD. Okay, so I was selling CDs back then and burning DVDs. And when I was a kid, because we couldn't afford certain movies, so he was doing the games.
And so he wasn't doing the games, but he taught me how to leverage that because Blockbuster and everything still existed back then.
Oh.
And so I would go do the little neighborhood stuff, go to Blockbuster, rent 10 games, come home, burn them. And then I started my first business from that. I had the whole neighborhood wanting to come to my crib because I had every
So that was
game.
your first business?
I had every game.
So my first business was, so I'll touch on that because we're on the topic now. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was the opposite. Back then, you got to remember, so my mom, like I was that kid growing up. My mom would describe it like I'm respectful, but my mom also, she put a lot into me and I learned so much from my mom, seeing the finances. Like my mom and we grew up as best friends, right? My mom like told me everything about her life, right? And so for me, I kept understanding the finance of the household. So I wasn't that kid like to be like, yo, mom, can you get me some Jordans? Like I didn't start buying, like my dad had me in Jordans in Haiti because, you know, back then he was in America. They were younger, they were kids. He'd send money back home. So I had the Jordans as a kid. But I had really nice shoes, like, you know, Nikes, all that type of stuff. But I wasn't going to go ask mom, like, yo, mom, can you go buy me these $200 shoes? Because I knew I had a little brother. So like I couldn't do nothing like that. So when it would be times that were tough, and my mom, like, we'd have to pay the cable bill, or we'd have to pay this bill or this, we'd have to make choices. So, for us, I'd be like, oh no, mom, don't worry about this. Like, bro, we watched Are We There Yet like 50 times, like in a week, because we had Are We There Yet? We had Are We There One? We had Are We There Yet One? We had Cat in the House with the actual live action movie, not the cartoon. So we kept watching the same movies over and over, and it got to a point where I'm like, man, like I went over to the this dude's house, like Sam. He lived with my dad. He's my half brother and sister's uncle. He's like an uncle to me as well. And so he used to burn CDs, DJing, and then he would burn movies. I learned how to do that through him. So back then there was Napster, and then he put me onto LimeWire, and then when FrostWire dropped, it was that. Then there was Pirate Bay. You see what I'm saying? Yep. And so I would watch him burn the movies, because my dad loves movies too. So it was my grandma, my dad. My dad has over 2,000 DVDs, bro. Sheesh. Crazy. My dad, when I used to go to his house as a kid during visitations and stuff like that, my dad's had so much movies that you could watch, bro, whatever you want. My dad would spend a lot of his money when he was working at the time just on DVDs, collecting them, making sure they got the Blu-ray, the metal disc, all that stuff. And so when we couldn't afford it on our end, what would we do, right? I learned how to use FrostWire, LimeWire, and then Pirate Bay. So any movie that came out, I would go and download the movie. Yeah. I would torrent the movies, and then I would take the DVDs from Walmart. I used to tell my mom, like, don't worry, just pay the light bill, pay the major bill. I'll figure out whatever else we got to figure out. Don't worry about the cable. Whatever we got to do, I would just go. My mom would be like, are you sure? Mind you, bro.
How old were you during this?
So I was doing this. I was 8, 9, 10 years old. Remember, it started young because we've lived in all aspects of life, of poverty, of different levels, right? So throughout those years, as I got older, I just kept getting better at it. You know what I mean? So I would go and get the DVDs, but my mom's like, you're a 9-year-old, 8-year-old kid. I'm like, Mom, I got it. I'll figure it out. Don't worry. And so I used to even, like, you see how you have all these wires right here?
Yeah.
Where you're running that? Back then, Comcast used to ask for a lot of money just to come home and do the installations. But again, I'm 8, 9 years old. And I would tell my mom, like, don't worry, I'll figure it out. So my mom would rely on me a lot on that. And so I would come, my mom would go I would just say, hey, we just need this. Whatever the equipment guy said we needed, I would be like, Mom, just get a list. Let's go get it at Walmart. So my mom would bring me, I would wire everything around the houses, whatever it was, hook up the cable boxes to save her some money. And so with the DVDs, we would go get the big packs of DVDs at Walmart. It'd be $8 for like 50 DVDs. And then, bro, I'd bang them out. We had Loan. I remember back then we had Sniper. That was a couple years later though. But my oldest movie that I did, we had the Fast and the Furiouses. We had all, what? Stop it. You crazy? Back then.
You was cooking back then.
Yeah, the original Fast and the Furious. We had them. We had Triple X. Some people might not even know Triple X. Yeah, that's
old school. Vin Diesel.
Ice Cube, Vin Diesel. You know what I mean? They didn't even know that type of stuff. So we had all those type of things. Then it got from there to music. Burning CDs, the music in the car. Then I wanted to be a DJ. My mom crushed that whole dream as a kid. And so people at school were like, man, when the iPod dropped, I was still using DVD. I was using CDs. But then when the iPod dropped, my mom got me an iPod Touch for my birthday. Bought me an iPod Touch. It was fire, bro. And so we couldn't afford the $1.99 for the music or the 99 cents. So what we had to do was I would get them from, people couldn't put them on the iPod. So I would download them from FrostWire or LimeWire. I would take them onto the computer, but they didn't know that all you had to do was import it into iTunes, and then Apple would recognize the music, and then you can put it onto the iPod Touch.
You see, and it's stories like this that make me grateful, because it was a process back in the day.
You gotta learn.
A lot of these young kids nowadays don't have shit like this. Like they don't even have access to do stuff like that. Like MySpace. We were damn near coders trying to build out.
I had the SpongeBob with the Haitian flag, bro. You had to get into the back and copy and paste the text code, bro. And when you came on my page, you had to know, I get money. I get money. I had the whole thing, T-Pain, I had all that stuff. But people like, yo, bro, how do you do it? But back then, that's how I learned. Because my first business, I was in 4th grade, bro. It was a candy business. But all these things that I learned, I realized that by knowing what other people didn't know, and if it provided a value to them, all I had to do was just, make some money in between, So for me, it was just a matter of like, well, if I know how to put music on the iPod Touch, I would have friends that be like, hey man, can you put the same CD player that you got for me on my iPod Touch? I'm like, okay, cool, I got you. Yo, how much for you to do it? You know what I mean? And it's just be a matter of like, I would say like, hey man, I'll just do 50 cents a song.
Mm.
I'm not iTunes. I can't charge you $1.
Facts.
And then, you know, they're my friends and family and different people. So I'd be like, yo, they might have paid me for only for 15 songs, 20 songs, but I might put 50 on them. You know what I mean? But I learned. And then so I started charging people how to put music on their iPods, MP3s, CDs, all that stuff.
No, that's a fire way to intro to it. And when you really think about it, at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of these startup businesses that we did as kids also get enhanced and developed when we become adults. Because my most advanced business back then, I didn't even know how advanced it was. But once I saw how the game thing was going, I was like, okay, cool. People are coming to me to use stuff. And I wasn't really like selling it only to like strangers, you know. And then eventually it got to the point where my mom like, who the fuck are all these little kids? Like, get them out of here.
What
like,
they need from you.
Like they gotta go. And so I had to figure something else out outside of the house. And so it's New York. It snowed. And so what I did was, instead of just going to go shovel by myself, I bought like 10 shovels. And I gave it to the other kids. And I said, yo, these are my shovels, but you can use them. I got a couple of houses that already said that we can do this and that. Let me just take peace.
So you learn how to delegate off of just a simple concept as that.
I wouldn't even say that's the biggest thing I learned. I learned how to take percents. And the percents is what scaled my business now. Because they could do it. They can go buy their own shovel. They can go get their own house. But what I learned at an early age is people like convenience.
Of course.
And so even with like my production company now, imagine a videographer, photographer, we're in an industry where nothing's guaranteed. And so you have a person like me that comes and guarantees them, hey, it's your camera, your life. You can do whatever you want. It's still your schedule. You're an entrepreneur. You're not even exclusive to my company. You can go join other companies, do whatever you want. But I'm going to find a job for you. I'm going to deal with the back end. I'm going to deal with the taxes. I'm going to deal with the licenses. I'm going to deal with the insurance. I'm going to deal with all of that. I just need you to go shoot the job. I just need you to go do the job.
And then break a percentage.
And I need 18%.
So, which is fair. And that's not bad because you're still giving them 82%, but you're taking all the risks because if the cameras break, if the audio equipment breaks, you got to then replace it.
Well, if it's my camera. So that's where my upsell came in. If it's my camera, then I take more, obviously. They got to pay me more.
Which is fair.
I brought people on with their own cameras.
Because what you would charge them on the percentage stuff was only a fraction of what the camera would be. Because an extra 5% for you to use a $10,000 camera is better than you got to go buy it yourself.
100%. And so, my cameras, I maybe had 2 or 3 at first. And I'm like, I need more people than this. Because if I'm going to only take 18%, I'm not going to have enough people. And it came into 2 situations where life truly humbled me. Like I was up for like 4 days once and crashed my car because I didn't sleep.
Wow.
And so I just ran into a tree. My only car accident to today. Knock on wood. And so it's like, I told myself, I got to slow down. You know, I gotta delegate things in a different type of way. Because if I go so hard, it's gonna put me in a position to where I can't do everything. And I was like, right now, I still feel like I'm in a 9 to 5. And then the second time I got pneumonia. And I had that for like a month and a half. And here's me. I can't move. I can't do this. And I had actually missed a shoot with Bacardi. I missed the shoot.
Really?
I missed the shoot with Bacardi. And I had to find like 3 people to replace the job. Because once I went out of contact with the 2 people that I was supposed to hire for it, they went and booked other jobs. I was in hospital. Like, I came back to my phone, like 30 missed calls, everything. Bacardi blowing me up. They're like, yo, we're ready. Here's the itinerary, this and that, blah, blah. And I don't have 3 people. And I was one of the 3. And so I was like, damn, I got to find 2 more people. And from that point on, I was like, all right, cool.
That's crazy.
I will never be got again. And so I just started hiring people and had them sit there. It was at the point at first
but you was ready to go.
I had like 20 people and they were like, so when are we going to get some work? And I'm like, I don't know.
You already had the water. You just didn't know where to bring it.
Exactly. And so
I like that.
After that, we started learning. But yeah, that came from shoveling. And so to go back to you building the music kind of vibe, business and everything, after you're graduating high school now, you're a little older.
Let me take it back real quick.
Okay.
Because my most complicated business wasn't even that. That was easy.
Oh,
My most
as a kid or in general?
No, as a child. My
Okay.
most complicated business as a child, I was in the 4th grade.
Mm.
And I started a candy business. And it was in the 4th grade. It got to the point where I had multiple employees, but they were just my friends. And I was breaking off so many people because shout out to David Ribeiro, right? He was one of the sources of this, right? He was the plug. And so for him, he's a very famous boxer back in Brockton. And he got a successful business right now too with his family. So I remember we were sitting in class together. One day he came to school with his big bag of candy and he was just giving it out to everybody, but he sat next to me. And so he was handing out all this candy to all these people. And I was like, and I'm in 4th grade. I'm like, hey man, like, where'd you get all that candy? He's like, my dad lets me take candy in the morning to share with my friends in school. And I'm like, oh, okay, can you keep getting this? Yeah, he said every morning. I said, okay, well, can we not do that anymore? Can we start a business together? And he was like, well, what do you mean? I was like, well, I know how to sell that. I want to sell it. And can you just keep getting the inventory? And I was like, well, it's your inventory, but I know how to sell it. Let's just do 50-50, right? And so I would make sure that now, from that day on, there was no more free candy anymore. No more free. But I said, tomorrow, bring me the best candy you can bring. And we made a list that day, right? That day, we started that day. No excuses that day. We wrote down all the candies that people kept getting from him. Anything that was left over in the bag that no one took from him, because remember, we're switching classes throughout the day. So if the candy was that same candy left out the day, don't even bother bringing this, right? So we made a list. The next day, we start off selling the candy for 50 cents. And the reason why it picked up so much traffic is because, one, we're able to sell candy to not only the kids, but also teachers. The candy in the school was fruit snacks, and they only had a certain amount of flavors, but we had Twix, we had M&Ms, we had Snickers, we had 100-gram bars. We had all those different types of candies, right? And so for me and him, we were only in that one class together, so we wanted to learn how to sell more. But I didn't trust the other boys in school because, like, some of them were bigger than us, some of them were bullies, whatever. And so I trusted the women. So what I said was, I'll give you guys a percentage of the money that you guys sell from the candy, but they can't defend themselves from bigger kids that could just take the candy. So the boys that were the bullies, we were like, hey, they weren't bullying me, but I knew they were the bullies, right? But you wouldn't punk me, but you might punk somebody else. So what I said is like, hey, you guys are the biggest kids in school. Whatever the girls sell, you got to protect them. At the end of the day, I'll give you guys some money or I'll give you free candy. So we got to a point where we're making $100 to $200 a week selling candy to the point where now our prices were going up. We weren't doing 50 cents anymore. We were giving you full-size candy bars for $1 to $2 a piece. But again, we were kids. So the teachers were supporting us because, oh my God, the entrepreneurial spirit. Hey, how are you? Hey, you still need that Twix bar for your lunch break? Yeah, let me get 2. They're breaking us off. It got to a point where the school, so first of all, I had to bring the money home. And that was a little difficult in itself. Right? I had to be a little like maneuvering around that, right? Because how do you explain to my mom it got to a point where I'm bringing $100 a week off of my half of the money. After we paid the girls, the other guys, and David got his half, I'm still walking away with $100. It's crazy. And so imagine 4th grade, it was lit. And so I just wanted to help my mom out wherever I can. And so, the school ended up shutting that down because, again, you got to imagine they're finding out we're selling candy in the school. Then you had other kids trying to compete with us, but they had to go buy inventory. Their parents had to go pay. We had the plug. And David's dad was proud of him because, you're making money. You're selling candy. Like, you're actually taking initiative. So the school ended up like making a whole announcement, sending letters out to the families, shut the whole thing down. But for me to bring the money home, man, I had to hide the money under a rock, and I would have to find a way to get my mom. I'd have to bring my brother into like, hey man, we got to get mom out of the house. We got to be like, let's go get some food or something. Always come up with a little story. And then mom would be like, yo, let's go take the car this way. Like, no, why don't we just go this way? It's a quicker walk. Walk by on rock. I'm like, hey, oh man, what is that? It's $100 on the rock. And mom was like, maybe it's for the neighbor. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. God wants us to have this. Like that. That's how we were able to get the money, man. But that's my most complicated business. We had at least 10 to 15 of us on the team. It's crazy.
4th grade is wild.
Yeah, 4th grade.
My 4th grade versus your 4th grade, I definitely wasn't thinking about that.
Yeah, no, in 4th grade, when they asked the kids, what do you want to be in school? I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to be a football player or an athlete. When it got to me, I said I want to be a millionaire. And that was it. That was in 4th grade.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't even think in 4th grade I knew what a millionaire was.
Nah, you got to remember, dude, I came to Haiti only about 2.5 years, 3 years before. There's a Haitian song, we're actually playing it earlier, where the guy was basically saying like, I don't care, I'm a millionaire. But back in Haiti, a millionaire is only 1,000. Millions in Haitian money is
I
thousands.
actually know that song. I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't give a damn.
I'm a millionaire. Like,
Yeah.
I grew up around that. And
I never knew what he said till you said that.
So for me, I never knew what a millionaire was, because in Haiti, I told you, millions is really thousands. Billions is millions.
Gotcha.
And so no one in Haiti had trillions to say they were a billionaire. That's not real. And so for us, it's not real. So when I was in 4th grade, back then, Bill Gates was the talk of the town, but he was not a millionaire. He had just crossed over the threshold of becoming a billionaire. And it was all over the news. This guy, I remember people threw pies at his face. You know what I mean? It was crazy. But for me, I didn't understand what a billionaire was. I just understood the word millionaire. So I knew about Donald Trump, Bill Gates. I kept studying entrepreneurs. And so in 4th grade, I just kept looking up. Like when kids would take the books about like cartoons, nah, bro, like, yo, what's this book about? Yo, the top 50 influential people. I would just keep studying them. I grew up in poverty, man. So I wanted to know, what was the other side like?
That's an interesting take on it, because it's crazy, or not. It's not crazy, but it's reassuring to see how different people can think about the same situation.
Yeah.
Because you just said, I was in poverty, so I'm watching this. My version of I was in poverty went left. Like, it did not go that way.
Nah.
I wasn't watching the news. I didn't know anything about being a millionaire.
Why do you think it went left for you though?
Because I knew 2 things. I was broke, and my mom wasn't going to give it to me. And so the only option was to go get it some type of way. But it wasn't from the perspective of, I need to start a business, or I need to do this, or I need to do that. The main thing that I saw was just, I need to learn a form of control. Okay. Everybody that had control over me in my life had the finances. And so that's what I told myself is, I got to control something, someone, some things, something, somehow. And, that control didn't come the greatest of ways, because I was stealing out my mom's pocketbook sometimes. Like, I was doing, what a bad kid would do. And I was being raised by the hood. Yeah. And so we were in the hood. And so a lot of our OGs, like, we might run down the block and like throw rocks at them, and they would run after us. And if they caught us, you get your ass beat with a belt. Like, it was actual, you was outside. And watching how they hustled and did certain things on there, that was my influence.
So I grew up around all that. So in Brockton, I grew up around, right? Remember I told you, so we used to live in this, now it looks a lot better than it was a little bit. It was Pine State. So Pine State wasn't where I first started. I started out on the south side of Brockton, right? So when I got to Pine State, I was around a lot of the drug dealers. I seen the drug dealers. I seen the guys that were the OGs, right? I seen the people that were the ones moving shit around. Like, you got to remember, I seen a drive-by before I was like 11 or 12, bro. Like, I seen that. People getting stabbed up. I remember neighborhood big fights would happen where, I remember one day, bro, like, sometimes helicopters would fly over Pine State with a big light looking for people. Like, there are people, sometimes we see those like, now they're OGs because they're older, but back then they weren't young niggas. They were the ones a little bit older than them. And so they would go away for like a year or two. And when we'd be like, oh, where's this person? Oh, he's booked. He's going to be gone for like 2 years. He'll be back. Right? But police would look for them over with helicopter lights. I've seen people get poked up. And so you got to remember, Brockton High and Brockton is considered one of the most dangerous cities in Massachusetts. Really? And Brockton High, you got to remember, so when I was a kid, I would see things like, let's say if somebody's beefing with somebody, I remember this vividly, bro. The whole like, when drama happened, everybody come out their house like roaches, bro. So you got 200-300 people outside, and it was this grown dude fighting this young dude. But the young dude was it was a light-skinned dude and a dark-skinned dude. When I picture that dude, the guy from, kind of looks like DMX, but I can't remember the guy's name, from The Wire. The dude who used to walk around with the 2 shotguns.
I actually never saw The Wire.
Oh my God. That's actually my top 5s too. Damn. But the bald dude, he had the 2 shotguns in the jacket. Your viewers will probably know what I'm talking about. Omar. But I forgot his real name because he passed away. Rest in peace. But the dude looked like him. The older dude, the light-skinned dude kind of looked like the dude that used to be around Omarion. Gotcha. Right? So they got in a fight to the point where the dude beat him so bad, He punched the braces out his mouth, mouth leaking everywhere, tank top. We children seen all this type of stuff. And so that's the type of stuff I grew up around. But my mom, bro, I grew up in church. I'm from Haiti. My mom's Haitian. So you got to understand, the number one thing for me where I come from is not embarrassing my family.
Yeah.
When we came to America, it's just my mom, my brother, and I. So if I get in trouble, who are we going to call? Like, my mom and my dad weren't married. They weren't together anymore. They were going through divorce. And so for me as a child, I understood risk. But remember, I grew up around the fact that you got punished for when you did wrong.
Yeah.
You got hit. And my mom is like, she's the person where like she was the man and my mother at the same time. So I would get disciplined by my mom. So she had to be tough. But bro, on Sunday, you got to get up for church. So I understood risk management very early as a kid.
I feel like as kids, especially back in that era, like, I mean, we still around the same era. I mean, I got what, 6 years on you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got about 6 years on you, but it's around the same time frame-ish. But, you know, I witnessed my villain era begin. And my stepfather caused it. Because as much as a homebody he was, he listened to rap music and hip-hop. And he played rap songs. My mom wasn't like that at all. She was 7-day Adventist. And so I couldn't get tattoos, couldn't get ears pierced.
My mom's not 7-day Adventist, but
like,
we're Christians.
And so everything was like super, super, super strict. And so that made me also pull away more because I always got limited to what I could do. And so I would always try to push the limits. She would just be like, oh, you could be outside before the streetlights come on. And I'll be like, all right, you know, how far can I go? Where can I go? What can I do? But it was one Halloween.
Did your mom do the spit on the floor? If it doesn't dry, by the time it dries, you gotta be home?
Nah, I don't know what that is. That's some Zoe thing.
Yeah, my fiance's family, I know that as a kid too.
Yeah, nah, we never had that. And it was just, you know, it got to a point where she couldn't handle me because I got expelled from school in 11th grade. Yeah. But, you know, my villain era began maybe 2 years before that. Like, yeah, I was a freshman. I went over the overpass on Halloween and got my ass beat. Like beat. I saw them run up the side of the little overhead. Bro, took my whole candy, beat my ass, and then laughed. And I saw 3 faces. I knew exactly who it was. It was like 5 of them, and I saw 3 of their faces. I'm crying. The cops come because I guess one of the cars driving by called the cops. They drive me home. I get home, and you know what my stepfather tells me?
Gotta spin.
He said,
gotta spin.
He didn't even say that. He said, oh, they just wanted to test your jaw strength.
They did.
And then he proceeds to play a song by Brand Nubian called Punks Jump Up to Get Beat Down. And I said, that's what you tell me after I get my ass beat? I said, say less.
Gotta get back.
I went to my room and I shit you not, I was sitting like this.
Yo,
sitting like this.
This dude look like Batman
because
and Gotham.
Because when I went to school, after that, that's when I really started fighting.
You had to turn up now.
When I started
because you had to make an example out of them.
Yeah. And then they were like, oh, why you fighting in school doing this and that? I just wanted to test their jaw strength.
Yeah.
And they couldn't tell me nothing after that.
That's the thing though. So for me, my brother and I, remember, we grew up around that. My mom, people be thinking my mom's Christian. My mom's going to play with you. My mom's not playing with you. Facts. My mom went through too much in life for her to let you play with her. It's not happening. So I remember we had a neighborhood bully. There was two neighborhood bullies, but this one story was a kid named Roscoe, right? My brother actually seen him like a couple years ago. And so this dude, right, used to pick on us, bro. Because, you know, back then, now it's cool people claiming to be Haitian. They love that, right? Future and Lil Wayne and Rick Ross was co-signing Haiti, all that type of stuff. Yeah. Now, I'm from that generation where they're saying like Haitians can't afford PlayStations. And they used to say that to me. See? The engineer know about it. He was one of them saying it. I'm just trolling. But
he's 21.
Yeah, but they used to say Haitians can't afford PlayStations. Now, for me, I understood the power of words because they used to say to me to offend me. But I understood what words meant because it didn't do shit for me. So when they used to say Haitians can't afford PlayStation, I'd be like, well, that's not true. Like, I have a PlayStation 2 and I got a PlayStation 1. So my mom bought it for me. So when you say I can't afford it, what do you mean? But they are doing that because some other Haitian kids that were, that were struggling, that was fresh off the boat, struggling worse than me. That is true. They couldn't afford it. So now when they used to make fun of us as Haitians, it wouldn't faze me because I already knew you were just trying to get under my skin. My mom put that in me.
It's so crazy that these different, and this is why I used to teach a course called Perception is Not Reality.
Okay.
And I still teach it sometimes, but basically like I bring up a bunch of like statistical facts and like psychology facts and stuff. And the main point of it is like, we can be existing in the same time, same place, same everything.
In different realities.
Complete different realities. And like for me, the two most rich Caribbean cultures were Nigerians and Haitians.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I said,
we know how to get to money.
And I'm like, yo, them Zoes got bread.
Yeah.
Like you see them, they turn up, they do this, they do that. And like to hear you say like, yo, Haitians got told like, yo, y'all couldn't afford shit.
But
like, wow.
It didn't make sense. And you got to remember, we led the independence. We
Mm.
were the first to do that. That wasn't normal. So our country is very strong. So you got to imagine, like, when people were saying to me, you can't afford PlayStations, but I had a PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1, PSP, and I had an Xbox.
Mm.
And that was by the 6th grade. My mom's a hard worker, bro. Like, so for me, my mom always made sure we had what we wanted because my mom wanted us out the streets.
Mm-hmm.
When we was outside, we was playing kickball, we were hanging out. I was outside more for girls, bro. Like more than anything, right? But that one kid was trying to bully us, right? And I remember he would just chase us, bro. Like we would run back inside the house, man. Yo, Roscoe's outside. Like we ain't gonna be outside with him no more. He was like, back then, he was our Debo. It's kind of crazy. Like, but we were children. And so one day, my mom was tired of us doing that. My mom's Christian, all that type of stuff. And so we were running back to the house. My mom pulled the door, pulled the gate, because there was a screen door and then there was an actual door. So my mom locked the screen door. She said, no, je dis ça, pas faire ça encore. Pas faire encore. Allez, arrange ça. Basically, no more today. Go fix that. Me and my little brother, you know what I mean? We kids, like we ain't even 10 years old yet. We ain't even like 9. And so, you know, he wasn't that much bigger than us, but he was a little bit bigger than us. But we're all around the same age range. Give him a year and a half. So my brother and I, we looked at each other like, cool. I'm bigger than my brother. But my brother, as I got older, I'm very protective of my brother. He's protective of me too.
He's younger.
Yeah, he's younger than me by a year and a half. And that kind of was an issue with me and my brother too. But for me, my brother, like when he's around, he knows he's good. He's good around me. But I know I'm good around him too. My brother's more of the aggressive type, real more aggressive than me. And so when my mom said that, we looked at each other like, we watched WWE, we watched the Batista bonds, the choke slams, all that stuff. So me and my brother, it looked like a showdown, but it was like, in our mind, it was everything because, you know, as a child, you're the same height, same level, so you're at the same power level. Yeah. So everything around you is the same size. It's not like, but to adults, it's just like, oh, these kids is playing, you know? But to us, it was crazy. So we walked to him in the middle of the area, and I looked at my brother. He looked at me. He was like, all right. My brother swung, hit him, popped him right in his mouth. Soon as my brother swung right on him on top. So we just jumped the kid. We beat the brakes off this kid. And so from there, the other kids in the neighborhood was like, yo, they the ones that did this. After that day, that was the day where I was never letting nobody punk me in school. Ever in my life. I got bullied by girls in school, never by a guy, because as a guy, I could put hands on you. Yeah. And so for me, I started getting bigger. And so for me, it's like, I'm not that big of a person, but in real life, it's like I'm 230. But back then, you know, a couple of years, like 2 years ago, I was like 250. But back then, I was a little bit bigger than the kids. And so my brother swung first. I went right after him, started wailing on him. Never messed with us again. Actually, he ran home crying, and his mom was so upset, had to come to my house to come cuss my mom out. My mom was like, your kid's been bullying my kids for months. Like, my kids did nothing to your kid. And so after that, the kids in the neighborhood knew, don't ever fuck with them too. Like, they play with us, but they wouldn't play with us.
Sheesh.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was never gonna happen.
Call me the toothpick gangster.
What?
Yeah, I weighed like,
why that?
I weighed like 110 pounds.
They be like, the Haitians, the voodoos.
Bro, I'm gonna show you this picture.
Yeah, no,
I'm show you this picture.
And back then they used to be like, man, they do voodoo. I'm like, no, bro, like that's not how that work, bro. We don't do that type of stuff. Not every Haitian does voodoo, bro. And so we kept growing up. So anytime people would try us, bro, if I ever heard you try my brother, I'm out there. It's crazy.
As you should be.
Yeah. Now I'm a lot bigger, a lot older. I gotta go fight you. I spent too many on guns for that type of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
No, I ain't fighting nobody, bro. You going on a shirt.
You fight?
I'm gonna keep it a bean. You going on a shirt.
The way my back set up?
Tell me your mom's size, your auntie size, you're on a shirt. Yeah. My fiance might press it for you, bro.
Yeah, nah, we definitely not doing that. Nah, this is 2025, sir.
Yeah, bro.
We are not, especially with these YNs and they got switches.
Yeah. Nah. And then the other bullies, after they kind of seen what we did to that kid, they kind of like start becoming our friends. Oh my God, bro. Wait, which one are you? Green or the red?
Red.
Red, bro. You're tiny.
Yeah.
How old are you back here?
16, 17?
16. So 16, I was already deadlifting 400 pounds. But mind you, it didn't look like I was a $160, $165. But I did this like workout boot camp that my mom had paid like $800 for. And it was for football. So you got to remember, you got to put up a shut up. When you get in the weight room, 16, there's videos on my Facebook I can show you me like deadlifting 400 pounds, 16 years old.
And the craziest part about it is
that Haitian strength, bro.
Me at this age looking like this was when I was the deadliest in my life.
Really?
Like everybody in the city was like, "Oh, hold on, chill. I don't want no
problem." Yeah, but I see a dude like that, like this. I already know you got a pipe on you.
Oh yeah.
I know what's up.
That I got my first beads when I was
young.
Like,
see, I had to use outside.
I was.
But that's my thing. For me, seeing all the kids that was outside and seeing people go to jail, it never made sense to me. So there's only a couple of things I'm afraid of, bro. And it's prison's definitely 100% one of those. I remember whenever I think about prison, I remember the Boondock episode when Tom went to prison.
Oh, yeah.
You know when Tom went to prison and Terry Crews came out the shot. Oh man, I'm like, nah, bro. And for me, I always understood like people go to jail. It's like, yo, your life's on pause. So who's gonna help my mom, my brother? So again, I understood risk. And so because of that, like, you know, as a Haitian, you got ingenue, bro. You do something too wrong, bro. You got your knees on the ground. You facing that wall right there for like 3, 4, 5, 6 hours.
Nah.
So for me, I'm not doing it. And it's like, no, my mom wasn't even the person to try.
So now after high school, what does college start to look like for you as you start getting into adulthood?
So during 16, 17, 18, that was a pinnacle moment of my time in school because I was already trying to be an entrepreneur, wanted to be that. But then I started learning about credit from 16 on, right? I started learning about credit, started helping people, family, friends. I got my first paying client at 17.
Who'd you learn from? You got like a course, YouTube?
Yeah, it was all YouTube. Bro, YouTube University. Back then, it wasn't.
Who's one of the first people that you really like locked in on credit and was like, I like this. I'm gonna follow this.
2 people. Okay. It was Brandon. He was heavy on the 609 letter. It was Brandon. If you give me, let me see. Is that toss me that. I'll show you them. I always love giving people their flowers, bro, because they changed my life. It was Brandon and let me pull them up real quick. Let me see. Let me tell y'all. It was Brandon.
And what year was this?
I was 16, so now I'm 27. I'm gonna turn 28 in about 2.5 weeks on June 6th. So I've been doing this for about 11 years. So you got to go back 2013, 2014.
Okay.
That's when I started getting the credit. Brandon Weaver.
Brandon Weaver.
Right here. Brandon Weaver. This dude right here. Brandon Weaver. That guy. It was him. And then there was the other guy's name. I'm forgetting it, but it was CEO Credits. Man, where is it? He's still in the credit space too. If I could find their name, but it was these 2 dudes, bro. Right now, why am I forgetting his name? Like CEO something, but he wasn't Haitian. He was like American. He had a retainer. But there was these 2 dudes. I used to stay up like my freshman, sophomore year, staying up late at night watching videos on how to repair credit, what the FCRA was, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, what was the FDCPA. So a lot of the people now that claim
you suing.
Oh yeah, there's bro. There's all different ways to get credit off, right? But there's a lot of people that like the people that claim to know credit now. I've been doing it so long that some of these guys was doing YouTube videos. They was doing Vine. They was doing comedy. Some of these guys was they was in different industries. They wasn't doing this. And so when I was that young, I started learning about credit even more because all the people I was studying that were millionaires at the time. What am I looking up? Yeah. So you were suing. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So a lot of the people that was doing credit back then.
This is right now.
Oh, that's active right now? That's crazy. Yeah, but you got to know, back then there was not a lot of black people doing credit. There was these 2 dudes and they were the number one people I've learned from. I'm telling you, I learned a lot from them. And then from there was books, articles. And remember, the millionaires that I was studying, a lot of them were talking about leveraging other people's money. And so I started learning about credit because I wanted to. There was a show that me, my mom, and my brother would watch. It was, you know, the 2 brothers. They're twins. They're like very famous now.
Marlon?
No. They're like 2 white guys. They do one sells the property, one fixes it, and they're very famous on like HGTV, the real estate shows.
No idea.
Property Brothers, I believe. No. If anybody who watches this knows who I'm talking about. They're very famous. Slick back hair. The other one has a different hairstyle. But long story short, my mom and I used to be like, well, Carrington's smart. He can do my brother's smart too, but my brother's good with his hands. And so my mom was like, he could fix and you can sell. This was when we were like 13. I kept that in me. So when I got to 16, started learning, started seeing, because I knew in 2 years, at 18, I was going to get my credit. So I wanted to make sure I started on the right foot. And then so during high school, I was doing that while at the same time I was working for Best Buy. And I became, from 16 to 18, I sold a little bit under $3 million for Best Buy while going to high school.
Damn.
Yeah. No commission back then. I would have been caked up back then.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And so I took that and applied at 18.
Wow.
So college for me, you got to remember, man, I went to college. I got accepted into Bentley and Bryant University out of high school, but I didn't go to those schools. I ended up going to Bridgewater because my family and I, we had an opportunity because my mom couldn't afford to buy her first home for us in America after 14 years of living in apartments by herself. And so her credit wasn't good enough. Her income wasn't good enough. But remember, everything I learned at 16, I applied it the moment I turned 18. And then by 19, I already had different credit age, authorized users. I already had my first credit card. My first car loan was 3.99% interest. My mom's car loans were always 20 and 22%. So I was breaking generational curses without really thinking about it. And then so when my mom couldn't buy the house on her own, my mom called me on the phone crying, and I was working on Best Buy, and told me about it. And she asked me, can you buy the house with me? And I understood that I couldn't afford to pay Bentley and Bryant at the time $65,000, $70,000 per semester, because my debt to income ratio would be jacked up. So I made the decision I was going to let go of those schools because I already knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. And I chose to buy the house with my mom for $272,000. And I bought it at 19 years old, my first house.
Sheesh. Okay, so
and I dropped out of college. Now we sold it a year and a half ago, and we sold it for over $550,000. Nice. And on my half of the money, I made $115,000, nice. And on her half, she made the same. But this was an investment I made at 19, a year out of high school.
Fires, you making all the right moves. Yeah,
got to.
Yeah, 19 was definitely not like that for me. 19, I was sleeping in an abandoned crib.
Really?
Yeah, that was right before I joined the military. I joined the military at 20. And that's why I joined the military, because I would have been in jail or dead for sure.
Really?
Yeah, because so fast forward and past me doing all this stuff with my mom, I get expelled out of high school, and she basically has twin sisters with my stepfather, and she's like, look, you're a bad influence. I don't want these kids to grow up like you.
So you got kicked out.
Yep. And she moved. She left. She said, we're going to Atlanta to start over. What are you going to do?
Oh, man.
So she left me in New York.
And how old are you?
16.
Damn. That's crazy. 16, that's a different upcoming for me.
She signed the emancipation papers, everything. Like, whoa. She gave me access to do everything by myself. And so I enrolled myself into Jamaica High School, Queens. Metal detectors, going to school every day, all of that type of stuff.
Pipe, yeah.
And I'm like, I had to move in with my cousin who sold drugs. After 3 months, he got locked up. And the landlord was like, look, I don't care if you stay here, as long as you can pay. Yeah. The moment you can't pay, you out.
Exactly.
And so I had to figure some shit out to go find. And that lasted like 3 months. And then this old friend from the old neighborhood, he was like, yo, my mom's not here right now. The Haitian lady, Sandra. And his dad had just passed away. And basically Sandra had like a mental break.
Yeah.
She had her master's degree, everything. And the dad had caused so much abuse in the relationship and all of that stuff. Like, she literally disappeared. And so he was like, yeah, you come stay with us for now until she come back. She never came back for like a year and a half.
Wow.
And so it's 2 kids, me and him. And then our other friend got kicked out. So he ended up coming, Malik. And we're trying to keep up this big, nice house. And eventually, mortgage went through.
Of course.
They came, they boarded shit out. We would rip the boards off. Electricity went off. Hot water went off. Wow. Everything. And so we had a crib. It just didn't have shit on it.
Yeah, it just wasn't what it was supposed to be.
And so, that's where I turned more to the streets. I'm like, all right.
Do you believe in the idea that you are a product of your environment?
I believe you're a product of of what's taught to you.
Yeah.
Because we live in a systematic world. America is a system. And so, we didn't go to school at the same time. We didn't go to school, and in the same school. But I know you wrote your name on the top of your paper. You wrote the date.
Of course.
You wrote the class. It's a system. And so, a lot of people like to say a lot of things that America did. Don't get me wrong. I battle this all the time. But if we really look at it and we really go back women were only allowed to go to work because they wanted to tax them more,
Mm.
because they weren't able to tax the wife that stayed at home with the kids. It was only one person, one class getting taxed, because this is around the same time. And these are stats. Everybody, you watching, you can go look at these stats. Once women were able to go to work, the government started taxing way more, because you got to figure, we just finished revolting on like the Boston Tea Party type stuff over 2%.
Yeah, women were gonna sneak away with a lot of money without getting taxed.
You know what I'm saying? And so now that the women are out working, that's tax. So guess what? The kids got to go to school now. That's tax again. Government's starting to eat. This is where the government really start going into their villain era. And so we're growing up in a systematic America.
Yeah, the villain era is funny.
And you have these epidemics where you have the crack era, the cocaine era.
Yeah.
You have things like Black Panther, but you have other hidden agendas where, even right now, you type in Black Panther, you get a movie, which is not even owned by a black guy.
Yeah, which
you
is
know
crazy.
what I'm saying? And so the old school Black Panther Party doesn't even pop up. None of that.
They took the whole SEO.
You know what I'm saying? And so you have these things in a systematic world where we don't know information that we should know. And it's not necessarily our fault, but it is.
Yeah.
Because we don't know where to get it, but it is there. And so back then for me, I felt like that was the only choice I had. If somebody else had came, which somebody did, it was my friend. He was like, bro, I give you $3,000 right now. I said, for what? He was like, join the military. I said, yes, because guess what? $3,000 when I was outside, like we were living
a lot of money.
We were living off the fries from Buffalo Wild Wings. They had free fried vouchers. We would get like 3-4 vouchers and have to eat that for a couple of days. And then the top ramen shit, all of that. And I said, yeah, I'll do it. I'll take it. And if somebody had came to me with a business proposition,
you'd still take it if it made sense.
I would have taken it because it gave me a different thought than what I was surrounded by.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're a product of our environment necessarily. I think we're a product of what we're taught.
Yeah, for me, I feel like I've grown up in all environments, and people ask, people assume because of the way that I am, like I don't drink, I don't smoke. It's not my thing, right? I don't club. I've only been to a club one time in my life, and it was to celebrate somebody else's birthday. I've never been to strip clubs. Like, I don't drink, nothing, right? I'm not into that type of stuff, bro. And so for people, it's like, how do you come from such a crazy different upbringing, but you're not like it? And I said, it's because I knew there was more in life. I just knew there was more. And so for me, I just made the decision that I'm like, I don't care where I'm from, I'm not going to accept it. There are people that left Haiti when we left Haiti, but they still have that mindset of poverty. I feel like financially we've been broke as a family, right? But I've never been broke mentally. And I kept putting that in my mind. I was the kid around the house running like, Mom, yo, Bill Gates has made $1 billion. Mom, Kanye West made this much money on this song. And I'm like sharing this, and they're like, why are you so infatuated by this? And it was because if they could do it, I could do it too. So I'm not going to use the excuse that because I'm where I'm from, like I couldn't do this. Facts. It just would never work for me.
Exactly.
It wasn't my thing.
And that's the same thing for me, because shit, look at the vibe. I mean, I did indulge in the bad shit.
Yeah.
But once I was taught that there was different shit, I stopped.
And remember, dude, like even for me, like I'll tell you now, a lot of the people I grew up around, a lot of them, bro, are in jail, shot, dead, or on house arrest. A lot of the people I grew up around with guys
or doing the same damn thing.
Exactly. And so even for them, like I've seen in school people get, you know what I mean? I've seen people, bro, remember it's a kid, 4,000 plus schools. When Chief Keef like came to the world, for some reason, everybody in Brockton wanted to be from 63rd. And we don't have any streets in Brockton like this. Yeah. So you got kids in that we all grew up as friends now fighting each other, trying to jump each other and all this kind of crazy stuff.
That's also systematically taught though.
Yeah.
The way they label these industry plants for like the music industry, all that stuff. It get deep because I'm one of those. Like Illuminati, a whole rabbit hole.
Same. I've been down that rabbit hole.
I mean? Like I'm definitely on that. But when it comes to like this side of life, like names that we should know that we don't know, like especially on the psychology route, like I read a lot of Daniel Simons, Christopher Chambers, you got Rachel Defoe, you got a bunch of these other people that are in the world of psychology that teach certain things that we should know. And because we don't know the psychology of how the brain works, like even just simple shit like somebody's amygdala People don't even know what the fucking amygdala is, first off.
I'm looking at you like, what is that?
But amygdala is in the back of your brain.
I feel like I heard that.
If somebody's amygdala is 13% smaller, they're more likely to be a serial killer or cause a violent crime.
Because
it's smaller.
Genetics and things you can't control.
Yep. And it's a 70% fact.
And the thing about it is you're not wrong. And I believe you. And that's one reason why, like, if I take it back biblically, I remember that, like, you know, some people got denied by their families, relatives. Man, you can never do this, can never do that. And I remember this saying, this thing from the Bible where it said that God's hands are so big that all his kids' names are written in his hands. His name was written in his palm before your parents ever knew your name. So he already had it ordained for me to be where I'm at and to do what I do. Thanks. Now, you have free will, so you have choices, right? But at the end of the day, you have that pen to write your life. Yeah. I just did not want my life to end in prison, behind bars, or anything weird.
And that's the biggest motivation. And that's what I tell people all the time is you can't fight logic with emotion. Yeah. And you can't, and vice versa, which is why there's two sides of the brain. And that's how the color scheme came. Like left side is blue, you know, right side is orange. Exactly. Logic and creativity. And people have a hard time mixing the two. But when it comes to somebody that has the freedom of choice, people choose to scam you. People choose to hurt you. People choose to do mass shootings. People choose to XYZ, fill in the blank. Not because they want to necessarily, but they chose to. Exactly. And it can be an emotional thing.
And there's a lot of that in all industries, even the businesses that I'm in. You know, like I own a credit repair business. I own a funding company. I co-own also Immigrants to Millionaires, which is a mentorship, credit repair, funding company. And so we hear that stuff all the time. And even for me, I just always knew that there was more out there in life. There was a situation where I remember we were buying a laptop for one of our mentees. We had a free masterclass, and that mentee had he had won the laptop. And so he chose a MacBook instead of an iPad or cash, whatever, right? So we went to the store to go buy him a MacBook, a brand new MacBook Pro. This was like a couple weeks ago, right? And so we were there, we were recording some content, us buying it. My fiance was recording me, and there was a guy that was looking at the computer, and he was looking at us, kind of like half looking, like didn't want to do too much. Yeah. And he was like, "Oh, are you guys streamers?" I'm like, "Oh, she's more of a streamer than me," because my fiance, you know, has a community of 14,000 plus active members in a Sims 4 community, right? And so
let's go.
It's crazy. And so the guy was just like, yeah, I want to stream, but he couldn't get out his mouth. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Do you want to do it or do not? And so I'm like, well, before you tell me what are you trying to buy or not, tell me what you want to do. Tell me you want to be a streamer. And the guy just was like, he couldn't get it out. He just couldn't. I'm like, bro, it's only me and you. Why are you so scared of saying it? He was like, man, you know, like I'm worried about what my friends and family are going to think. I'm like, your fear of your friends and family's judgment is so much that you don't have the courage to even say what you want to do. Some people don't realize the power of the way they think, their limiting beliefs, the mindsets of those around them, right? Because I believe in the power of proximity. Like you showed me, if you're only around people that do negativity or always on drama or just want to do bad, you're going to be the average of them, right? And so for me, I wasn't the average of the people around me because I said, I don't accept what you do as my reality or my perception. So I just didn't even factor you in. You didn't count to me. You know what I mean? I could talk to them, laugh with these guys, but I just never took what you did serious. It wasn't the route for me. And so now when you sit back and I was talking to that kid, I'm like, yo, man, look at how scared you are to say it. There's no weapons to your head. There's no money on the table. Say what you want to be. He couldn't get it out. And when he did say it, he whispered it. And I'm like, man, you got to deal with that. You got to be able to say it. I don't care if you say it in the bathroom, the shower. But for me, I told people, I said it to the world. I believe in the power of speaking things into existence. Yeah. God created the world off of his mouth, off of his thinking and what he can say. So if I say I'm going to be a millionaire, if I say I can do something, I'm going to do it. Simple.
That level of conviction is really good because one of the biggest fears in this world still till today is public speaking.
And yes, it is. And most people don't realize that. That's how the military, from what I understand from studying you guys, they make you do a lot of public speaking. Announcing different things amongst your squads and your teams. They do a lot of that. And I remember there was a guy, a very famous like sniper dude, explaining how he's very famous. Like there was that guy and there was another dude
who helped something.
Yes, there's him, and then there was another one who helped in killing
Osama.
Yes. And they were talking about how you are forced to public speak. You have to be able to break down your position, what you do, how you do it. And the higher you get into military, Army, Marine, SEALs, Delta, you have to get better because you have to be able to tell them what you are doing. Because you guys are 6 people going into another country, into combat zone. If you don't know what you're doing, you can't explain it. What's going on? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And so for me, I've never been scared to speak. And I've had to speak against my the limiting beliefs of family members, cousins, and families. Because for me, you're not gonna hold me back. Like Jay-Z said, his uncle told him, "Yo, why do you want to be a rapper? You can't sell a million records. You can't sell a million records." Jay-Z said, "I sold a million records a million times." But you have to be the one in your family to break out of that. You got family members that they went through trauma. They might have done the wrong business decision. They might have done the wrong business experience. And what happens? Now they're going to put it onto you. They're going to sit there and tell you, "Oh, no, man. Well, I tried it. It doesn't work." It didn't work for you. That doesn't mean it's not going to work for me. And so for me, I'd rather bump my head trying to get to success. Because remember, some people will say, "Man, well, do you look at a cup half full or half empty?" Think about it, right? Some people see a cup as half empty. That's a pessimist mindset. You're negative. You think from the negative side. Well, if I have half a cup of water, well, I know if I get a little bit of sugar and a little bit of lemons, I can make lemonade out of it. But some people, man, be like, it's only halfway full. If it's not at the max, I can't do nothing with it.
You know, there's a third way to look at the cup.
What's the third way?
And I have a presentation on this too. A realist.
Which is?
Realists see a cup. Does the cup matter to them? You know, whether it's half full or half empty.
It's the same thing with jewelry. Yeah. Some people look at jewelry, they don't care about it.
Yeah.
And some people see it as in, well, it's a sign of wealth. It's a sign of you make money.
When you have that kind of perception on things, you know, what I've also learned through not only experience, but my major is I used to want to talk a lot to a lot of people. And I actually cut that down. Same. Because I hurt them more from teaching them things that they shouldn't know.
For me, I had the same experience, but it was different. For me, I was giving so much value, knowledge, and game to people and it was landing on deaf ears. So in my mind, I would realize that I'm trying to put you onto something that like can change your life. And for me at the time, I might have not been able to execute on it, but I remember when I told my mom, like, just tell me you want a Range Rover and I'll show you how to buy a Range Rover with no money down. And I'll show you how to go get the car. And my mom had to fight the beliefs of family members around us that were telling her, "Oh, no, just go get this car or just go get that car. Don't go get a Range Rover. It's too expensive, the problems and all that stuff." But I told my mom, do not live to that person's mindset or thinking or their pockets.
But it's even deeper than that. And it's unfortunate because that's not just that person's belief. That's that person's reality.
It is.
And we almost in an instance have to be careful because we get so ahead of the game because of how our brains work, right? And so when you become an entrepreneur and you get a level of success, you have to still understand statistics. Statistics run the world because you can't dispute numbers to a certain default.
You're not wrong.
And so SBA, as of 2023, the average median for the black male is $41,600. And so if you come to them and say, "Hey, you can
make $10K a month.
I give you funding for $100K." You just broke that person's reality.
And
there's laws that exist where villages in Africa, you literally will get locked up if you even present a can of soda to them because soda doesn't exist in their reality.
Because you're going to disrupt what their norm is. That's why I don't blame certain people. Some kids grow up in a cannibalistic world. You grew up eating kids and people. I'm not gonna like knock you for it, but I understand that you grew up around this. So for me, you got to remember there was 2 big shocks in my life. One, the reality of coming to America. I used to think that that white people didn't have feet. It was weird.
Really?
I used to think this. You got to remember, bro. Like, dude, like in Haiti, people look like me and you. Like my fiance. Like it's like my business partner. They don't look like white people. To me, we thought you were sick. Like we thought you looked like you had a condition. Like it was so mind blowing to me. I couldn't believe it. And so for me, imagine coming from Haiti, 115-degree weather, 110-degree weather, coming into that and then seeing snow and then seeing a white person. I was like, yo, what is this?
I want to throw kind of, some people aren't going to like me saying this, but it's realistic. Is it unfair for us to justify that white people feel the same? That we're barbarians and we're dirty and we're this and we're that, because you just said the perception of what you thought they were And we come here, or we've always been here, but they meet us now. Same thing with the Indians, same thing with everybody.
Yeah.
And they know what they know, and they present themselves and how they know to us. So is it fair to say that,
like you're talking about when
the
they
only
found
ones
us in
that are
our
racist?
countries and our islands with like barely naked, pretty much outside, barefoot, but they had dress clothes and all that stuff. For me,
Sure.
it's kind of like you got to remember with Adam and Eve, right? Once they got the knowledge of the fruit of the apple, they now realized that they were naked. You looking at us like we're barbarians is cool in your world, because to us we're just like, whoa, what is this? Why are you naked? Why is her boobs out? Like in my culture, you'll see sometimes in different tribes and islands back then, you'll see women with their tits out. And it's normal, right? But to them, it wasn't, because just because you put clothes and you had access to the fruit and that doesn't make you like better than us, right? To you, it's your reality. But us being barbarians, I'm not going to say that they're wrong, but to them, their specifications, right? A monkey thinks we're barbarians for eating how we eat. In a monkey's minds, we're barbarians. They're ripping bananas off like this and just eating them. We're cutting them on. We're making food. We're cooking on the stove. To an animal, to a cat that puts its mouth in a bowl, us eating, those stare at you like, what are you doing? You know, why aren't you on the floor with me? So I can't knock them for it, but I got to knock them for the fact that as we continue to acclimate into your world, for you to still see us only as that, to me, is where I'm going to hold you accountable.
Fair. Super fair.
Because you've seen that we are more than this. Now you guys got to understand we're the influence of this world. Right. I knew I was lit. And I told people, I'm like, some people, you know, they'll go and lighten their skin from my culture and African culture. They'll do that. No, I love my skin tone. I love what I look like.
Facts.
I'm different. I love that about my culture and who I am. If I was to reborn, I'd want to be reborn how I am. And so for me, I valued that. You know what I mean? And I remember for years, I wouldn't use sunscreen because I'm like, no, I'm black. I got melanin, bro. God gave me a superpower. And then I realized we get sunburned. I'm like, damn, that's crazy. And now I'm bald. I got to use sunscreen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, that's the harsh realities that we face. So with you being in the funding space, and you said you have a program, Immigrants to
Millionaires.
Immigrants to Millionaires, how do you approach people that, one, don't even understand this demographic of life,
Yeah,
but two, verbalize something that they can't mentally visualize already?
What I try to do is I understand how some people, when I tell them that, hey, if you have a 700 plus credit score and you have the right profile, banks see you as a low risk lending applicant, right? Right? You're a low risk client. They're willing to give you $100,000, $150,000 in 3 to 7 days, because the numbers and how the credit report in that industry works. It doesn't work off of, like I told you, if you know their mom, their dad, their family members, hey, I'll lend to you. It works off of the fact that, hey, as long as your profile looks a certain way and you have the right things on that profile, the banks will give you whatever you want. So I've had to show them both sides of it, where my audience seen me working the 9 to 5, where I've done Instacart, I've done Shipped, I've done all these different jobs. I've built businesses and from scratch, bootstrapping my money. And then now I've showed them, well, because I had this one credit card, I was able to take $6,000 off this Discover credit card, buy some inventory from Walmart, and then I was able to make $14,000 in 2 weeks with my fiance, leveraging other people's money. You have to slowly introduce them to that world, because for them, it's like what you said. You take a monkey and you put it in a suit, it's not going to understand. It's going to rip it off. So you have to allow them to see, hey, well, this is the life. This is what comes with it. This is what it takes to use other people's money. Because the number one thing I tell people is OPM, right? You have other people's money, right? Where you use banks, lenders to be able to use their funding to being able to start, grow, or scale your business. Then you have OPA, which is other people's audiences, similar to this, where I'm able to educate your audience not only on who I am as a person, but I'm also able to let them see what I do. That's OPA, other people's audiences. The other one is OPP, which is other people's platforms, where you use Instagram, social media, Facebook, platforms like yours to being able to educate other people, right? Providing them value. Those are the 3 O's of making money. As long as you master this, you can make all the money in the world. But you have to educate people on that. Hey, the 9 to 5 is itself a concept that benefits entrepreneurs. It benefits the billionaires. So when you're working a 9 to 5, what are you doing? You're trading your time for money. I do the same thing as you. I just don't trade my time. I trade services and leverage other people to generate 5 to 10 times the money you would make. Where a 9 to 5 job, you'll get paid $20 an hour. Nowadays, I call it $29 an hour job. It's the new minimum wage, right? The average household makes $50,000 to $60,000 a year, right? That means husband and wife is making $50,000 to $60,000. In most businesses, right, you can go and start those businesses, especially in the credit repair and the funding business. You can make 6 figures with little to no degree, little to no education. You just have to learn a high income skill. And that's what we teach people at Immigrants to Millionaire. We teach you guys how to take your credit score from a 3, 4, 5, or 6 to how to get it to a 700 plus credit score. We then teach you how to build your profile, how to structure your LLC the right way, not making the most common mistakes, which is, using your personal phone number as your business phone number, using your home address as your business address. We teach you guys how to use the right tools and the right platforms to get these things done correctly. And then we show you how to take that profile, that business, and your credit profile to the banks, so then you can access up to $150,000 in funding with 0% interest.
It's powerful. It's definitely powerful, and a distinct correlation between the two that I like to point out as well, because some people, I don't really like to talk numbers. There's been a couple people that have tried me on the podcast.
Let's do it.
I pulled up receipts.
Yeah.
But, what I also tell people is these numbers aren't average, for one.
Okay.
But for two, there's a difference between making money and there's a difference between creating money.
Keep going.
And so the creation of money is what the government and the banks and all of that do. Once you, as a business owner, because there's different ways you can make money, which is the most normal way, linear.
You're talking about Myron Golden's concept of how the highest level of earning money is through communication and speaking, because you can create it off your voice. You ever heard of that?
No, I don't like Myron Golden.
You got to tell me why.
I'm gonna get in on it. And,
I love that.
And he knows I don't like him.
Okay.
But it's for personal reasons.
Yeah, that's cool.
I respect him as a businessman, but he says a lot of things like he's for the community, but you can't have $100,000 program and be for the community. It doesn't exist.
Let me ask you a question though. Do you think that when he says he's for the community, you know how some people say like you make more money and then we leave the communities we grow up in and now we move to the better neighborhoods and all that type of stuff, right? And people are like, man, you forgot about your people. Do you think that because his offer now is only an opportunity for a certain level of earner, does that make him not part of the community anymore?
It doesn't. It makes him part of the community because community is based off of inclusivity, right? And so his demographic and his psychographic still fit the bill. If nobody knew how much he made, he would still be counted in the vote for that's this person.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And so financial aside is different. That's what happens when you talk community. But when you talk community, it's about involvement. It's about what are you actually doing? How are you actually helping? I see how much you make. I see how much you're doing, but how many people are you really being an activist for?
And I agree with you. And that's where at my core, remember I told you the first woman I ever wanted to help was my mom, right? Seeing how credit was a big major factor in our life, especially seeing my mom, my mom invented freezing credit cards, man. Like my mom had a bad spending habit when we were kids. And so she would run up on credit cards to stop herself. She would take a credit card, put in a cup of water, and then freeze a cup of water. For her to use that credit card, she would either have to let it thaw out or break the cup, right? And she's not breaking that cup.
Facts.
And so now seeing that as I got older, like in the last 90 days, I've helped over 75 Black women get into a 700 plus credit score.
Come on.
I have women in my community where we've actually helped them not only get their credit from the 3, 4, 5s, and 6 to the 7s, but we've also educated them on how to use their credit better. We have women in our community that are qualifying for $250,000 houses, $300,000 plus houses. We have women that are now starting their own businesses and becoming their own boss. But it took the fact that I had to stay at my core and also make it something that I can help people, but it also can be financial beneficial to me, but it can also align with what I believe in.
Facts.
As a kid.
And with me saying that, charge people. Absolutely. I'm not saying do this shit for free. Hold on.
Of course.
That's different. But the amounts that you start to charge people
You
become ridiculous.
exclude a certain amount of people in it.
Because now you have a world where people are making the base of their money off of people. They're not making it off of the actual business, you know. And so this is what we created with the coaching era, you know, and that's why I stopped teaching as much, because I didn't want to be roped into that kind of cycle. I would have to tell everybody, everything that I'm teaching you, if I stop teaching you today, I still do it. And I probably make more money because I'm not focused on it.
I also think that's a limiting belief for you. The reason why is that even in the Bible, it tells you, right, when you go to King Solomon and you go in Proverbs, it literally tells you that you want to seek guidance, favor, counsel, right? And for me, it's like, you know so much and you're such a highly successful. Just talking to you, when we talk to you, I've learned so much. And so for me, it's like, I think you're doing a disservice to people to not offer your coaching and your mentorship. And that's why for us in Immigrants to Millionaire, we offer mentorship, because for me, it's changed my life so much that I don't convince people to change their life. That's not my goal, because you'll get far more friction trying to convince people to do better than for them to just watch you live your life and say, man, you know what? I want this. Bill Gates, Donald Trump, and these guys, seeing these successful Black men and these white men, it didn't, like seeing Jay-Z, seeing Kanye West back then, 2010 era, seeing Future, all these type of rappers, seeing football players, Ray Lewis, these type of guys like Ocho Cinco, like they didn't have to convince me. I just saw it and I had to then decide that I wanted this.
But see, now that right there is where they usually get you hook, line, and sinker, because you have an expectation.
Yep.
Right. And so now imagine Darius had said, yo, this is Rich. He's a multimillionaire that has this and does this and does this and does this. You would come here with a preconceived perception of me.
He didn't.
And he didn't. You came here and you found out some stuff. And you're like, oh, shit.
And similar
to
like
different.
Darius, some stuff I told you today, I've never spoken this in front of cameras ever.
And so when it comes into like meeting people, I didn't stop mentorship. I stopped giving my access to everyone. And
But wait. For you to go and stop your access to everyone, how'd you do it? Because there's two things. You could either, with access, you can stop people's access by putting a certain threshold on your prices. I understand sometimes when I look at some people's offers, I'm like, that's a little bit much for what you're giving. I get that. But there's sometimes where it's like your time becomes so much more valuable than you charging someone $50.
Yeah.
Because now what I can do with you for 2 hours for 50, I can do it far greater for 10 grand. And then remember, 95% of people will not be executors. Only 5% of people, let me cut it back. 90% of information that are on the internet don't get used. 90%.
Of course.
It doesn't. So that means that there's only 10% of people that are executors. So you got a lot of people that are going to waste your time. When you start your business, you become a coach, an educator, a mentor. So for me, you have to charge enough where you make it make sense for you and your time and what you're worth. Because what I could teach you in this amount of time, how much more can I make without me having to teach you, stop, educate, answer your questions, whatever it may be. But at the same time, you also have to make your prices enough that people take you serious, because I believe in the idea that when you pay attention.
So now here's the loophole. The access that I cut off and how I cut it off was through how I presented it. So every month now, the third week of every month, I do a free class.
That's fire.
And the cap is like 6 people, 7 people.
Okay.
And I now target people, not the people that can pay me, because I've already found out through time the people that can pay me. I instead target the people that need the most change.
I love that.
And so that's the biggest difference when it comes to community. If we're not targeting the people that need change the most, are we really changing the community? Because the whole purpose of psychology is to damn, why is this skipping me right now? It's like DECC or some shit like that. But the last 2 C's is change or control.
Yes.
You know, and so the purpose of psychology is if you can't change it, you have to find a way to control it.
Okay.
And so when we go to a lot of these other communities that we live around and everything, and the people that can pay for your services or find a way to pay for your services are already in an elevated position. Those people, I stopped giving direct access to me. If they still want to find me, they can. I'm not hiding.
Just got to run a bag.
They just got to do something different. Now, the people that I have given access to me are more mentally broken down people that don't know this exists. And so I'm targeting my demographic because remember, I said I went to the military because somebody told me about it.
Mm.
And so I'm now targeting the people that aren't even looking for me. I'm targeting the people that don't know I exist. And those are the ones that I want to teach now because it presents a more authentic connection. When you have somebody that even goes to your page to just look at it, an interest for it, their subconscious does something different. And we've learned this through psychology. Daniel Simons talks about this. This is studies from the invisible gorilla. You got the black dog test. You have Elizabeth Lofton, who did the lie detector test, like all these stuff. And so we know statistically proven that these people, the moment they decide on one thing or another, have already committed a certain type of mentality to it.
Of course.
But the people that have no idea it exists undergo the most change.
Listen, it's nothing more attractive to a mindset than actually being educated, understanding how to grow financially, and being able to execute on it with the proper tools, information, resources, and systems. I want to give you guys a free training on credit to cash. Listen, go to credittocashlive.com, credittocashlive.com. I'm going to give you a training on how to clean your credit, how to repair your credit, how to build your credit, how to fund your credit, and actually generate cash flow from having good credit. It's not just about having a good credit score. It's about actually learning how to monetize it, make money from it, and walk away from your 9-to-5 and create financial freedom. Listen, Credit to Cash Live, I'm giving it to you guys free right here on the Attractive Mindset Podcast. Let's go.
Okay. And so for me, what we've been able to do with Immigrants to Millionaires, right? The number one thing we do is this. We've developed free access communities where people can learn. Because the number one thing for me is I'm in the financial space. Remember, I told you I want to be a millionaire entrepreneur. And I've understood the power of being your own boss. I've understood the power of being able to make, right, multiple 5 figures every single month and how it actually alleviates a lot of the stress that we go through as humans. And so for me, I also wanted to give back for those people that might not be in that position where they can't afford to have what we have, right? So we create communities where, hey, if you're in the entrepreneurial space and you've been trying to get funding for your business and you want to learn how to access that, we've created step-by-step guides and video guides on self-paced courses where you can go and watch it and avoid all the mistakes that people make that cost them thousands of dollars. When it comes to structuring the LLCs, structuring their credit profile, when it comes to repairing their credit, we've given so much access to this stuff for free. Literally, Immigrants to Millionaire, our free academy. There's stuff in there that other people pay thousands of dollars for through other people that we decided that, yeah, we're cool. We don't got to charge you for that.
And so
it's too. I'm like, bro, I think that's the bare minimum. But for other people, they'll run you $2,000-$3,000 for it.
And so
we give it to them for free.
How are you finding these people now?
How am I generating my clients, my leads come to me?
Yeah.
So I get a lot of my business off of referrals.
Okay.
So remember, I've been doing this for a little bit over 11 years. 90% of my clients are women, Black women, right? I currently have like 2 white women in my community and they came from black people, right? And so for me, I don't discredit if you're white, whatever you want to do. You can come to me, I'll work with you. But I noticed that when people find me and they see me, that's not my demographic.
Got it.
Right. And I can't control who God brings to me and I won't complain. So if all I have to deal with 90% of it being Black women, then that's who I'm going to serve and I'm going to help. And it aligns with the fact that my mom was the first woman that I ever wanted to help anyway. Right. So it touches me. And so for me now, when I have these people coming in, it came off of referrals because when I tag and post my results for people on social media, I always tag my clients because I tell people, fuck what I got to say. Just go and DM them. Ask them what I've done for them. Ask them how I've helped them and changed their lives. Because for me, if you do good work and you have results, I don't got to talk. I don't got to say too much. And so for me, when you come onto these platforms, a lot of people are sending me a lot of clients in business because there's so many people that say they do credit repair. There's so many that say they do funding until they talk to me. And I've been doing it since I was 16. I've seen all the waves of credit repair. I've seen all the waves, factual disputing, consumer law. I've seen sweeps. And now I've also seen the AI technology. So when you come ask me questions, you pick my brain. Oh, you got the right one.
So what do you have in place as like an exit strategy to that?
Exit strategy to what? After they get their credit fixed?
To your entire business.
And to what degree? Like elaborate a little bit more for me.
So your business is run because you're teaching them or your staff is teaching them or somebody's teaching them.
Yeah.
If nobody teaches them anymore, what happens?
So we have this, right? We have the credit repair business where it's a done for you service where you can basically pay our team to go and repair.
Not for them. What happens for you?
What do you mean what happens to me?
What's your exit strategy?
So I'm trying to understand it the right way.
So an exit strategy is
Yeah.
basically like, if you can't teach anymore,
Yeah.
if your partner can't teach anymore, if your entire business can't teach anymore, what happens to your standard of life or your lifestyle?
So right now, right, I have assets in place and I have different property and real estate that I'm able to make money off of. And at the same time, a lot of this stuff is recorded. I've recorded. So whether I'm alive or not, my content is still here.
Yeah.
So if I go away and my fiance decides to say, hey, I'll sell it for this much or I'll give it away for free, it's still going to help people. I have videos I posted 5-6 years ago that people are still eating off of, that are still, gaining knowledge from. For me, I don't think so negatively as in like I'm going to go away. Like I want to pass this knowledge on to my children and my family.
It's not about negative.
Yeah, but I want to make sure that I leave. Like for me, bro, the money's cool, whatever. Like I was gonna make money regardless. Yeah. But the thing is, I have clients where I was able to help them not only access their first property, where I helped them buy their first home when I was 20 years old, but their children grew up in that. And now when they run into me into like BJ's or Costco's, their kids are older and they remember me like, hey, that's the guy that helped us buy the house. That relationship, those things matter more to me because of the simple fact that now my kids in the future, I might be broke. Yeah. Let's say I'm broke. But if you remember what I did for you 10, 15 years ago, you might do right by my kids.
So when do you want to exit?
So for me, my exit is right now, I'm 27, man. I feel like I haven't even cracked the surface of like, of what I want to do in life. And it's just that there's so much more for me, but my goal is to leave as much content, as much knowledge, as much value to the world as possible. I give so much away. We do free mentorships and free classes on Wednesdays and Sundays, bro. And we give them an hour to 2 hours just breaking down how to increase their credit score, how to dispute that information by themselves for free. We also show them how to go and increase your credit score, right? But how to take that money from the banks, giving you plays, banks that you can go to all on your own. I'm not charging you a dime. It's a free class. It doesn't cost you nothing. And then we also teach them how to take that money and then how to go and do what? Go and build their own businesses, start, grow, and scale it. That's free. We do that on Wednesdays and Sundays.
And so, and this is not to say it with a negative connotation.
Please,
at
go
all.
ahead.
There's a 3-step process to this, and I'll put it out there.
And I love this, by the way. This is fire.
I'm interested to see how this goes in about 3 to 5 years.
Let's
because there's a saying that the hustler has to die in order for the CEO to grow.
I believe in this.
And the CEO has to die in order for the founder to exist.
So I believe in the idea that people think that they don't understand that. Look, right? After I've helped people fix their credits, they get their cars, their houses, their mortgages, whatever it may be, whatever they're looking for, right? If they're looking for funding capital, I realized that after helping so many people, it's not really the credit or the knowledge, it's people's mindsets. And so for me, people believe that the current version of themselves, which by default is the old version, they believe that that version can still become and live the lifestyle that they envision. They don't understand that you need to break down the limiting beliefs that you have in the old you so that the new you could be born. So I believe that for me, I had to let go of the old me, the old limiting beliefs, the old version of me from Haiti to let this version of me become who I am. And I feel like now I'm passing that threshold where now I'm not becoming like, I'm not the worker of my business anymore. Now I've become a boss, and now I've had to slowly let go of like task and responsibility so I can become the CEO, the spokesperson of my brand even more. And then from there, I want to, I don't got no kids yet, man. So for me, I want to be able to see my kids grow in the business and then let them take over and then scale the real estate and the property and all that stuff.
How do you know they want to take over?
I don't. And the thing is, I want to give my kids a fair chance. I want to be able to give them the opportunity. If my kids want to become scholars and teachers and doctors and lawyers, that's cool. But I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I want to introduce my kids to knowing risk in the cost and investments. I want to start showing them how to do numbers and math. And hey, dad, well, this iPhone that you want's $1,200. You got to go do some chores. You got to do some groceries. You got to do some stuff. You got to work for what you got to get. And so when they come and get older and they can understand, I want to give them two things. Do you want to work with me and your mom? Your mom might have a real estate business. She might have a content world, a gaming community, be even bigger than what it is now. And I might be in real estate and credit and funding. And it could be in venture capitalism, whatever it may be. Pick your route. If you tell me, hey, dad, I don't want to do that. I want to be a doctor. Cool. I have the money and resources to put you in the best schools.
So
you pick.
So from this whole
I didn't have that choice. I had to make that myself.
So from this conversation, I've definitely learned a lot about you.
Yeah.
And I get a good grasp on what you're actively doing and what you're passionate about.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to throw a question out there. Question / statement.
Okay.
All right. You ready for this?
Okay.
And I only asked this to a few people that have been on the podcast.
Go ahead.
I have over 200 episodes.
I'm honored.
Live, right? So if I have $5 million to buy your business right now, how would you sell it to me? And what would I need?
$5 million. You want to buy my business?
Yep. What would you tell me?
I would tell you that, one, you want to take the business, you would have to take the infrastructure that we have and apply it to the right system and the right amount of people, right? You have to be able to delegate it, because this business runs off of, you're dealing with creditors and banks and lenders. You have to have the team behind you to be able to run that business for you.
I'm buying your infrastructure.
So with you right now buying my infrastructure, I would tell you, man, like, for me, this is a good question. It's a good question. So I've never had the person ask me this kind of question. So I would tell you this, right? You would take my business, and what you would need, honestly, you would need maybe 6 months of being side by side with me, where I can show you how to run the credit repair business, the funding business, how to deal with the bank relationship managers, how to deal with the VAs, how to deal with the creditors, the lawyers. I would teach you all of that within 6 months. And then from there, you can let the business run itself.
So if
I've delegated enough.
So if I have to learn that, then somebody wouldn't buy that business, right?
Some people wouldn't. They would still want me on board.
Yes, because when somebody's looking to buy a business, and this is M&A, the infrastructure or the system that's already in it has to be existed. But even in how you portray it to certain people, like, what I want to hear
Can I ask you this though?
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you. So educate me, because I'm humble enough to ask. Educate me on what I can do to position my business better so that it can be in that scale for it to be exited at $5 million.
So valuations.
Okay.
Valuations is going to be a big thing.
No, I'm only using the 5 million because that's the number you gave me. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying in general.
Yeah.
Valuations is going to give you the point that you understand where you need to get to.
Okay.
And so that has to happen in the beginning, and it happens towards when you're ready to sell. And so most people think it just happens when you're ready to sell. If you don't know where you need to go, then you're not going to get there. And that's what the whole point of evaluation is for.
Okay.
And so there's 3 main guys out here, whatever state you're in. So we're dropping like some
he's
exclusive gems right now.
And for me, guys, like, you got to be able to understand, like, some people aren't humble enough to come and learn from another person. I don't mind, bro. Like, I would love to learn that.
Absolutely. So in the beginning, when you meet these valuators,
yes,
they're going to tell you what your business is currently worth, what you're missing, why it's not worth what you want it to be worth. And that is going to give you the infrastructure that you have to kind of build.
Yeah.
And so it's just like buying a house or anything else. You're going to have different valuators give you different things, tell you different things, give you different options. And so when you go to these valuators, you're like, okay, cool. This is what I'm missing from here. Then on the back end for yourself, what is it going to cost me to do that? And that's where your business takes a turn for either the best or the worst, because it all goes down into, I made it into a 6-step process. You have advertising, then you have creation, then you have upsell.
And advertising is where we're lacking. For me, I've grown this business to a point where referrals and organic content, it does great. Because you got to imagine, like, bro, like, I don't even got 2,000 followers on Instagram, and I make a lot of money off of that, because, like, when you do good work, it spreads like wildfire. Yeah. The same way that when you do bad work, it spreads like wildfire. It's kind of like it's the opposite effect. But a lot of these people that have seen me grow up in this business.
So is it the work?
The work of what?
You just said if you do good work, it spreads like wildfire. If you do bad work, it spreads like wildfire.
Yeah.
So it's not the work that makes it spread like wildfire. What makes it spread like wildfire is nope.
What do you think then?
It's the want. It's not even what we think.
I love that.
It's the want.
Okay.
The fact that people want it. There's a girl online right now selling poupées. You know what a poupée is?
No.
She takes people's pubes and she like dresses it up and she sells it on eBay. She's 6-figure earner from doing that.
Is that legal? Is that even like clean?
Yeah. I mean, People buy it. They
Look
can
at
buy
the
whatever
stink,
they
though.
want. It's
Look at the
here.
stink.
I mean, she washes it and like she.
But
it's
she's
a
playing
whole
with
thing.
people's pubes though.
It's a whole thing, and she makes six figures off of it.
But look at this, right? So,
You know?
and you said the want. There's 230 million consumer reports in America, right?
Mhm.
34% of those consumer reports have less than a 650 credit score.
Mhm.
Most people are getting charged 20% interest, high down payment, high fees because their credit is torn up.
Mhm.
There's a need for what I do. What I've realized is that me doing it alone for so long, and that's why I sought out mentorship, because I realized that I've built it so much, but I realized that like there's so many mistakes I could have avoided if I had a person that said, hey, I've been where you want to go. Just don't do this, and just do this.
But what if we put the score to the side too?
Yeah, you could do that because the score is only one half of it.
Yeah.
Most people think the score really matters. What it is that it's the profile. A score is irrelevant. I know people with a 700 plus credit score and they can't get approved for a car loan.
What if we put the profile to the side?
So now what do you mean when it comes to leveraging money?
No, for what people want.
Well, it depends. Most people want freedom. People think it's the money. It's not really the money. Because if I give you $1 billion and I tell you have 7 days to live, you'll spend most of that money trying to figure out how to live longer. It's not that.
I don't think most people want freedom.
What do you think people want?
Do
Do you think it's the control?
I don't know exactly what people want, but I know it's not freedom because we have the choice to choose freedom now.
Yeah,
And
but
most people
freedom
still don't.
But technically, the system and controls that the government puts in place don't give a lot of people control because you having a
it
9 to
does.
5, most people wake up out of bed to go pay a bill.
Yeah, but they don't have to.
They do,
They don't.
because then explain this to me. Let's say if they don't wake up and pay this
So
bill.
what's freedom to you? What's your definition of freedom?
Freedom to me is being able to say fuck you to anybody I want.
And you can.
I can, 100%,
Yeah.
but to a certain degree.
No.
No, here's why I say this. I can logically, I can.
Mhm.
But if I have a bullshit 9 to 5, right, and I hate my boss, but that 9 to 5 is allowing me to pay for my bills, my kids' school, I don't have kids, but I'm just saying if I had kids, right, my kids' schooling, if it's allowing me to put food on the table, allowing me to do that, I am going to think twice before I ever say fuck you to this person.
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Why do you think that? Most people, right, I offered yesterday on a
And
free
it's-
class,
Mhm.
I offered, me and Sunset, right, we offered, hey, ask your boss for a raise to $62 an hour.
Mhm.
Tell them you want to make $10,000 a month. We have $1,000 for it's a free class.
Mhm.
Whoever can do it. No one took the offer.
Of course.
Fear is the reason why.
But that's because that's their reality.
Of course, yeah, I agree.
And so because it's their reality, the freedom of choice exists no matter what.
Of course,
People choose the freedom of
it's a
I
choice.
want to go to 9 to 5.
Exactly, but
And
I
so-
chose the entrepreneurial route.
Exactly.
Some people choose the reality.
And so hear me out.
Go ahead.
So hear me out. I want you to think of freedom as a credit card. And I'm gonna
Yeah.
use this because this is your industry, right?
Yeah, of course, of course.
And so a credit card, why would a bank give me, a random person, $50,000 for free? 0% interest even.
Yeah.
Fuck it. We won't even say interest.
Yeah, you get no interest.
Why
12 months.
why is somebody giving me a card with that much money on it? What happens if I pay it off every time I spend money?
What they're gonna do is, so when you get a credit card of $50,000 and you keep spending money on it and you keep paying it off and they never hit you with interest, because interest to me is irrelevant only because if you pay the card off within 30 days, you're never gonna hit interest,
Yep.
even when the 12 months goes away, right?
Yep.
So banks, what they do is they're gonna keep increasing that threshold of your limit because they're like, wait, this guy keeps spending that money that we gave him and he keeps paying it off. That's called aggressive credit card limit increases,
Mhm.
and we do that with some clients, right? Big business owners with a lot of cash flow, we do that all the time. Banks do that because they're going to keep increasing it until that credit card hits a certain threshold, until they catch your ass, and then now you can't afford it anymore.
Now, do you know what the percentage of the people whose ass they catch is?
A lot more than a lot of the people that don't. Of course not. Most people don't
You
have the
know?
financial literacy enough to even actually understand what I just told them.
And so that takes us back to the question of what is freedom?
To me, it's like I said, freedom is the ability to do what I want when I want within the regards of law, where my health, food, finances are intact. I don't want to be free and dead broke. There's a lot of people that are homeless that they're like, man, I got all the freedom in the world. I don't got to work. I don't got to wake up when I want. I can wake up when I want. I can live the life I want to, but they're dead broke. They can't make anything move. They can't make anything shake. You can't go and get the food when you want to. You got to ask people on the street for money. That's not freedom to me. Right? So freedom to me is I can wake up when I want to, sleep when I want to. And if I don't like how you speak to me or the tone of voice you give me, I don't have to do business with you, and you can't impact my livelihood or the household that I'm able to build for my kids, my future kids, my fiance and I. So for me, freedom is it's control, it's access. It's that. I remember Alex Hormozy said to him, freedom is the distance or time between your thoughts and ideas and reality. So if I say I want to travel to Cancun, some people say they want to go to Cancun, but it takes them 10 years of saving to get that one trip. But if I have enough money, freedom, and access to say, hey, I want to go to Cancun, I can fly tomorrow, that to me is ultimate freedom. And that's the goal for me.
Okay. I mean, that's definitely a you version of freedom.
But remember,
which is
my reality is this,
of course,
right? But my reality allows me to do what, right? Like if you mess with the wrong person, right? I remember there were people on the internet, like at DJ Academics, there was a girl who came at him one time and she was like bringing up old stories of his past that weren't true. He was so upset where he said, man, I had my lawyers in place ready to buy your house. And now the way you disrespected me, you got to hand me my rent every month. And if you don't pay me, I'm gonna kick you out. When you mess with people that have a lot of money, that have a lot more power, control, and influence than you, what they're gonna do is they can inflict their will and reality onto you, despite whether you want to deal with it or not. That's why there are people, black men like me and you, who have gone to jail for 20, 30 years.
Facts.
Even though they might have never done it.
Free Tory Lanez.
Yeah, there you go, free Tory Lanez. So what I'm saying is that you gotta understand that with this, people with a lot more money, a lot more access than you can put a lot of harm on you. 100%. And the only way you can break out of that is you need to have enough money, enough control, and enough access in your world. So when people were saying, man, I didn't like how Trump became the president, I said, okay, cool, you're broke. If you don't like it, there are rich people who literally said for the next 4 years, I'm moving to France, Paris, Dubai. And they say, I'm not gonna be in America during this time. But when you have to go to your 9 to 5 and all this stuff, why are you complaining? He doesn't even care about you. You're not a factor. You're not a factor because you don't got enough money on the table to make a decision.
Facts.
So if you want to be a player, for me, I realized that there's a movie called The Gambler with Mark Wahlberg. And that movie is where I love the concept of fuck you. You want to have control, money, access, and power. There are people who say money is irrelevant because I have power. There are people that are kingmakers that we will never hear of. Never hear of. But they are moving things into place because they have power, leverage. So for me, I understand that the first scale of control is you need to be able to have money and control your time. Facts. Can't control your time, you can't even make a decision on the next level of power, which is what? You have money, power, control, access. There's so many different degrees to it. You know what I mean? But that's how I look at it, man.
You just snapped. I mean,
that's how I look at it, bro.
That's what we're here for. But man, we could go on all day.
Yeah,
honestly.
But man, I don't want to take it one time, man. I love the fact that you allowed me to be on your audience, man. Yeah, and I'm thankful for that, man. And the thing is, I want people to know, man. Like I said, for those of you guys that are looking to increase your credit score by 100 points, and then we can learn. Can I say that again?
Yeah,
I can.
I mean, this is not gonna cut. It's live.
Oh, I can say it, right?
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, because I feel like I'm so I was thirsty. But hey, for those of you guys that are looking to increase your credit score by 100 points, learn how to go and start, grow, and scale your business. You want to learn how to access $100,000 in funding through the banks and learn how to go and use that money to be able to break from your 9 to 5 and how to make $10,000 a month. We host a free masterclass on Wednesdays and Sundays where you guys can come and tap in with my business partner, Sunset, and we'll turn you guys up completely for free.
Man, Carrington. We got to learn not only a lot about you, but you also dropped some gems, like some actual gems, things that are going to go out over a lot of heads and some that are going to actually be taken in. And so, you know, if people wanted to learn more from you, work with you, follow you, all of that, where can they do that at?
So you guys can find me on, well, I'm not on every platform, but I'm on Instagram, TikTok. You guys can find me at C Stays in Profit. So it's C Stays with an S in Profit. My first name's Carrington, last name's Pierre. On IG, there's a blue check. Don't get scammed. Don't find no weird randoms pretending to be me, especially not on TikTok. There's a lot. But yeah, you can find me there. And from there, you can look me up on Facebook, man. I use my real name. I'm not hiding from nobody. I'm not pretending to be anybody that I'm not. So you can see me. You can scroll through my social medias, Facebook, Instagram. You'll see my family, my picture. You'll see all the levels of change in my life. I got nothing to hide, man. So you guys can come work with us if you're looking to get your credit fixed, if you're looking to go and get funding, if you're looking to get mentored, however you guys want to do business with me, it's up to you. I'm here to serve you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
Man, listen, there you have it. We got my guy Carrington in the building. If you like this episode, make sure that you share this with a friend. And it's your host, Moneybag Rich. And at the end of the day, we always say we look good, we live good, life is good. Talk to us, we talk back, and we are out.